Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope nothing is blowing up right now because I had to diddle the back of my computer, and we all know how things like to go south when you diddle your computer. But we're gonna say that hopefully everything is okay. Welcome. It is Friday, April the 7th, 2017, at least by my clock. And it is another episode of Technical Alpha where a bunch of gentlemen get together and pretend they're drunk but aren't really. At least not all the time. I might have been a little bit on it last week. but this week we're going straight water. There's nothing fancy this week. We got a big lineup today, and bigger news, we have our first ever guest here on Technical Alpha. We're going to be piping straight fire memes to you, into your earlobes, and for those of you who are on the live stream, into your eyeballs for the next while, because we have Nathanias here today, and when I press this button on the side on my OBS, just like every week, we're going to cross our fingers collectively and hope that nothing explodes. Oh, sweet Jesus. Everything worked okay. Another week with nothing breaking. Gentlemen,
it's like we're getting good
welcome.
At this, man. It's like we're
I
getting
know.
good.
Don't say that, though. Don't say that, though. Because then something's going to blow up. Don't say that, though. Nathanias, how are you doing, sir? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm having a nice day. It's awesome. It's Friday. The sun is shining in LA, and I get to talk to some of my favorite guys. I love you, dudes. This is awesome. I'm glad to be here.
Exciting.
Didn't even clean up your beard for us today, man. Couldn't shave a little bit. You gussied up.
Didn't.
Get a blazer like Jeff.
just. I didn't put the effort in. Funny thing.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm supposed to go get dinner somewhere nice for once with Julie tonight. But I saved all the
we
fancy.
We got you in trouble, dude? Are you not getting late tonight?
No. It's okay. It's okay. We planned it all out. We planned it all out actually around this as well, because normally like this would have been while I was streaming anyway. So I could have cleaned up, but I didn't. Is what I'm trying to tell you, because I was supposed to do it later. So it was planned for after this.
That just tells me that you really love us, because you're not afraid to show yourself unkept.
Nope. No, this is I got no makeup on. Okay,
no filter.
No, nothing fancy. No auto tune. This is just me. I'm giving it to you. I'm giving you raw Nathanias.
There we go.
Oh, it's good. It's good. Mr. PanicSwitched, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for today.
You're a little bit more. Okay.
You always sell it so.
Okay. For one, you sound like not excited at all to be here, and secondly, you're kind of spiffed up a little bit today, Panic. I'm liking it.
I know.
How am I spiffed up? This
you've got that like I'm 40 years old on the golf course and I don't care that I'm four-putting kind of look going on right now. That's what I'm seeing.
I literally just got home from work like 25 minutes ago and like shoveled my dinner down my gullet, so.
Perfect.
Other than that, I'm excited.
Oh, good. There you go. There was almost emotion in your voice. That was good. That was a good try.
Emotion.
Mr. Black.
Yeah.
Mr. Black.
Yeah. I'm good.
How are you doing today?
I mean, I'm good. I streamed all day. Nothing overly exciting in my life right now, so. Same old same as last week. I'm here, and it's good to be here, and it's good to have Nathanias on. There's a lot of people that are listening. I think probably the majority of people that are listening, we may have gotten like a few stragglers since we started the podcast, like via iTunes or something like that. And we'll let Nathanias introduce himself and all that fun stuff. But we have known Nathanias forever, so it's kind of only fitting that we have him on. And we can talk about that once you go over like what we're going to discuss today and all that other fun stuff. But there's some history here. There's a reason why our boy is on.
Fully intend to cup the balls of Nathanias for this entire time. I can't wait.
I'm even more happy to be here now.
the full package. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a relatively good lineup for you today. Of course, with Nathanias being here, we're going to talk about banana hammocks. And then also we'll talk about
do they live up to the hype?
Do they live up to the? Do they really make you feel like a man? I mean, I don't know. I've never personally worn one, but you know what else doesn't make me feel like
Don't
a man
lie.
playing StarCraft because I'm bad at it. But you know who isn't bad at it? Nathanias! And Jeff was pretty good too. So we'll have two people to talk to today about StarCraft and where it is and where it's going, and I think we even had a pretty big news thing today, unless it was all memes and jokes about Captain Balance himself leaving. Was that an actual thing? Did that happen?
Oh, that's super real. Yeah, David Kim is gone from
That
StarCraft.
just got announced
Yeah.
today.
That happened.
Damn.
Well, let's talk about it.
We'll give him a great you googly as
Somewhere
as they say in the
Idra is somewhere on this planet right now screaming in just joy. Idra is a happy man.
That's a lie. Idra's never happy. That's
I think he might be today. I think he might be today.
That's true. The one day. So we're going to talk a bit about that, and we're also going to talk about. We're going to give Nate some time to just vent a little bit about the struggles, and Jeff as well, because he's been on that hype as well about what it's like to try and transition your stream. Because both of you are kind of in similar spots right now. Nate more so than Mr. Black, because Nate's going through. I want to get like a little like daddy holding son's hand, like, now son, back in my day when I switched to StarCraft 2, I had to play League of Legends for 14 hours a day, and it was terrible. So we're gonna talk a bit about that.
Money wasn't
as well. No, it wasn't.
I bought
No,
another
definitely
house
not.
off League of Legends. Shoutouts to Riot. Shoutouts.
Shoutouts to Riot. And we're also
Get
going to
that
talk
1,000-mile
about.
stare though sometimes.
Well, that happened just from StarCraft alone. Persona 5 streaming restrictions. So I don't know if Nate plans on being here long enough. I think he probably has something to say about that as well. And then we have Power Rangers because Mr. Black and Tabin went to go see that. And we're going to
Nathan
talk a
also
bit
saw
about
it too, right?
I did not.
Okay. Well,
My
two of us
week
saw it.
I got a little tied up. I wasn't able
all
to
good.
catch it.
So close. That's all right. I didn't see it either, so it's all good. It's whatever. We'll let those two carry that segment. And the Xbox Scorpio specs got announced this week. That was pretty big news. Mostly because I haven't seen so much custom hardware in a little box in a long time. So that's going to be quite impressive, I think. And then that's it. I guess we're going to answer some questions as always in tech support. But let's end it there to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not already listening to this on iTunes, we are on iTunes. We are on Google Play Music. We are also on SoundCloud, YouTube, Patreon. And every once in a while, your grandfather might find us in the crack in the couch when he's looking for that corn chip. We're pretty much everywhere we can possibly imagine. Mr. Black,
Yeah.
hit me up with the sound of the Power Rangers fucking up their Megazord transformation.
It's morphin' time. Shit, that looks like ass. That's all I got.
Really?
That's it.
You just went to
That's
the
it.
fucking movie and the best you had
Dude,
was shit that looked like ass?
Well, I'll talk about it, but I mean, they don't really make any sounds or anything. It's not as animated or as cheesy as the
Just kind
Alright.
of happens
the show.
to you.
That's tragic.
I'll let it off the hook. I'll let you off the hook on that. I'll let it off the hook. All right. So we'll jump right into it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk StarCraft first because at this point we're 3 weeks in a row talking StarCraft, but coincidentally, it's one of the three things that we actually know about, and then we can talk about it. So we're batting 33 on that bad boy. Nate, I'm actually going to give it up to you first, since we
right.
like to treat our guests well. Not that we've ever had one, and we're gonna just let you start it off. Now I'm gonna toss you a bit of a softball on this to start, though. I'm not gonna just say,
All
hey,
right.
StarCraft, go. I just wanted to talk about what StarCraft was like for you, because Jeff and I in Panic have already talked about this actually in the last couple of weeks, kind of intermittently, about what having a career in StarCraft was like, and so I think I would love to hear your take on what it was like coming up in the big leagues with StarCraft and what StarCraft has been like for you. because I also want to talk about just kind of, amongst the three of us to be positive, because I know there's going to be some serious negativity. We're going to talk about, like, our favorite moments with StarCraft 2 and whatnot, before just dumpstering it, because I think that's probably going to happen a little bit today. So
that's how it ends. That's how the story ends.
So we got to be a little bit sunshine and rainbows. But yeah, you can introduce yourself if you want to pretend like this is elementary school, but otherwise, just I want to hear the Nathanias story from Nathanias himself.
The Nathanias story. Ooh, StarCraft has had such a crazy impact on my life. Before I was doing any of this, I was just a regular nerd who played games. I liked to play a lot of Diablo. I was a big Brood War player for custom games. I was a super casual, just like video games. I was going to school, and StarCraft 2 came out. I'd heard about some tournaments and stuff. I wasn't a big follower of all that. So for me, my journey pretty much started with, I was just playing some games in college with some friends, set up like a collegiate Star League team and just played. Just tried to enjoy the game. I got into streaming probably when I heard about Twitch, whenever that was, in mid-2011. And for me, it was just a normal, chill thing. It took my mind off studying, obviously prevented me from studying. And, for me, it was a good way to kind of escape, right? How everybody plays video games. Mm-hmm. And for streaming and everything, like I said, what kind of built into it, obviously that's how I met Jeff. Was probably one of the first times I got over 8 viewers, after you foregated me in the back of my main on Metalopolis.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah. It's one of the oldest videos I think I actually still have on my YouTube was of that game. And you put a pylon in the smoke.
In the smoke in the back in the corner.
Yeah. Destroyed me, and I think I had like 200 viewers. I completely lost my shit, and I met a lot of great people that way. PanicSwitched, how I met you, NovaWar, and then I got a little bit more interested in things. Obviously, things started to pick up for me. I was able to kind of break out of that. At the time when I was getting into StarCraft 2, it was the biggest game on Twitch. Everybody streamed it. If you wanted to stream, that was what you played. And there were guys like Idra, Destiny, breaking 10,000 viewers every single day. So for me, being able to get out of the very small part at the bottom was a pretty big deal for me. So, everything kind of naturally progressed. I guess things really took off after that again when the IPL caster search competition came up. And I made it to Vegas to cast the event, and that was supposed to be where my career would start. I was supposed to do a bunch of other events, and that company went bankrupt, so they totally shit the bed. And I just started doing online casts, and my life got so crazy because this was the part where I was really starting to commit a lot of time into streaming, into StarCraft, and I didn't come from a very well-off family. I was already working a PC repair job at my college, and I worked on an environmental protection board thing that paid some of my tuition, and that wasn't enough for to cover my shit. So I had to basically give it up because I couldn't get the support that I needed to do that, and I just said, I'm just gonna go balls deep on this StarCraft thing and see what comes of it. And that was how the whole casting thing started, and just doing that nonstop. So for me, it has a very big emotional part because it was my escape from a life that was getting pretty shitty around the time where I was committing to this stuff because I couldn't keep doing what I wanted to do. And I felt, I have a passion for this. This is where I want to go. And it gave me some of the best years of my life for sure. I've met an insane amount of people, all of you. I met through it. Everything I have right now comes back to, those early days on like just sleeping in my dad's like 1-bedroom apartment in his kitchen, just streaming, trying to get a gig. That was how I got that was my life. That dirty floral couch that I slept on and then sat up to stream all day. That was how it was until I got 6 a.m. I got my message because people in Europe are 8 hours ahead of us or 6 hours ahead of us on the East Coast. So oh, you want to cast DreamHack, and then everything changed, right?
So what was that like? What was that like when you got that email, when you finally got the break? What was going through your head at that point? Were you completely all in? Were you excited? Did you jump up and down? Did you tell your dad
that was the best thing ever? That was the best thing ever. It was the very first gig that I ever did, and like I watched a lot of stuff at that time, so I knew who like the good studio were. They were super big at that point. They had the good show. It was like Hellspawn. It was like a name that I recognized. It was like, hey, you want to come out to Sweden and catch DreamHack Summer? We'll pay for your flight, hotel, and we'll give you $1,000. I'm just like, holy shit, this is my chance. You know, I'd been basically living with my dad, who was just trying to make ends meet, and God bless him, kept the internet on just so I could keep streaming because he believed in what I wanted to do. And you know, we'd kind of like come to terms about how long I could try to make something like this happen, because I wasn't making a ton of money casting, you know, a B stream of Pro League at 3 a.m. So my you know, I had like 3 months left basically before I was supposed to just give up and get a job. And that moment was like the most pivotal thing for me, because it was at that point he was super excited. He was super excited. He was sending pictures. He woke up at like 3 a.m. to watch, because obviously we had really long days for those events in 2013, and it was crazy. It was like after that I got the IEM New York gig. They're like, okay, New York City, it's a super close thing. It was an obvious thing for me to get. I took a bus there. I was so excited because I was like, this was the greatest thing ever. And that was, I guess that's kind of where like the best parts were after that. And then WCS happened, and I came out to California, and that was probably the best time period for me for StarCraft. And it wasn't just because of the casting, but also my stream was powered by, you know, the quest to Grandmaster, as many call it. You know, everybody had that drive to get better. The game was still super popular. It was still super big, and there was a lot of passion and excitement in the community around it.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree, and that was the same with me too. It was the whole, you know, I came up with the whole quest to Grandmasters, and it was kind of one of those things where when I first started, I was in gold, and then, you know, people can watch that progression, and especially somebody like you, where you weren't this big pro, you were an average guy that put in the work, and that's the main reason why, you know, we gave you plugs. And I remember posting up on, and I, you know, back in the day, and this goes to show, like, even now in streaming, it's a lot harder to make it than where we were. You know, we were right place, right time. That was just an anomaly that I've come to terms with. You know, I consider myself an entertaining person. I consider you a very entertaining guy, but you know, knows his shit, right? You're a guy that knows his shit. But at the end of the day, now there's so many entertaining people, and there's so many people that know their shit, that it is much harder to make it. And back then, when I was like, guys, you need to check out this dude in his dorm that is, you know, casting his ass off for 8 people, I never did that before. And StarCraft back then was a dog-eat-dog world. Nobody collabed except for HD and Husky. They were like the 2 guys, and even they had some beef. You know, it was always like Husky was kind of. It was like HD was the son that was just annoying, and he just dealt with them because he had to. There was still even that, you know, it wasn't like this equal thing with them. That's what I got from the field of it. Even speaking to HD in the past, but that's a whole nother slew of shit. But it was, what I'm trying to say is, it was a dog-eat-dog world. For me to go out and say, go watch this guy, you guys need to check this out, that is unheard of. And that is, you know, a testament to how much passion you had for the game, that even someone like me that was, at the time, I always kind of had my wall up. You know, Adam and I never got a fair shake when it came to the StarCraft community in terms of being a respectable or respected content provider, because we were the guys that were doing the immature, non-professional. We would come up with these ridiculous, you know, we were the cheese guys, right? We were the when cheese fails guys. To be held at the same level of even as someone like Husky or HD was kind of ludicrous in a lot of people's eyes. And so Adam and I always kind of had our guard up, but we were always still willing to be that team that collabed with people. We were constantly searching for collaborations, because we believed that if we all networked, we would all grow together. And it was much easier for us to say that at the time, because we weren't as famous as somebody like Day 9 or Total Biscuit or Husky or HD. We were kind of at that level of Force SE2 strategy and Hunter or SE2. You know, there's Kalaris, and you know, we were all those at that sort of level, but we were doing this, and everybody else was doing this, but we were on our grind. So we were kind of we wanted our cake and eat it too. We were pushing out there to get things done, but nobody was reciprocating, and that was just the time. Now it has changed since then, but what I'm getting at here is there's a reason why you made it. Is because you had the passion, and not only that, there's a lot of people that has the same passion as you did that it never panned out for them, but it's because you sacrificed and you put in the work. You took an opportunity and you didn't waste it. And a lot of streamers, when they get that break, when they get that viral video, when they get that plug, they treat it like an everyday thing. And you treated it as an opportunity to blow up. And obviously it didn't happen like overnight, but it was a constant growth, and look where you're at now.
Oh, it was fun to watch.
I find it ironic. A little bit of irony that you got the two cheese guys help produce one of the most professional casters in WCS history.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, but they got that low key like future shit going on, because I think a lot of those other guys are a little bit way too stuck up sometimes. So I think we still mixed it in a bit.
What was that like anyway? Because I got to ask you a question, because and of course, you know, you don't have to talk about the stuff you don't want to talk about, and I understand that business is business, and
right.
I wouldn't want you to burn a bridge or you know, talk illy about somebody that
I've got my torch.
Whatever. But what was it like working with Blizzard in terms of you know, you've worked with them, WCS, you've flown around the world essentially with Blizzard, you've done it all, and the reason why I'm asking this is because Adam and I never had that opportunity. You know, we've had our success, but outside of the corporate side of Blizzard, we didn't. You know, I had my first run-in with them a little over a year ago in Vegas when they flew me out there for Heroes of the Storm, of all things. So I got to sit down with them and really talk with them and voice my concerns and stuff. But what was that like? Were they easy to get along with? Were they fair? Do they pay fairly? Is it super competitive? Is it more of who you know? Do you got to jerk people off there to continue to get certain gigs? Because I understand what it's like to be in sort of a club or not be in a club. Is it like that there? What's going on? What can you share?
So that's a good question. That's one of those things that has developed more so. So like when I started getting gigs, it was a lot more casual. The StarCraft 2 scene I think about it as like pre big WCS and post big WCS. Like this year, all the events and stuff are being run by Blizzard. Blizzard's directly managing everything, and they've been getting more and more hands-on since, you know. But at the beginning, it was weird. Blizzard was kind of like this looming figure, at least for me, because getting into the events, I was still, you know, at least for the first like 5 or 6 of them, I was the new guy. Obviously, I got hazed a lot, like on cast and stuff like that. But as far as behind the scenes, my interactions with Blizzard were pretty limited at first. I think there were a few times where they would send the most obscure, weird feedback about commentary, because most of my connections early on were working through people at ESL or DreamHack, and to the point of like being able to get gigs and stuff. I never had to deal with Blizzard on that until I started getting offered for like BlizzCon and stuff, because that was the first like Blizzard thing that I got asked to do. It is a pretty much who you know thing though, as far as how all of that stuff went. You know, people, you know, we brought in like other new casters. I guess the easier way for me to tell you is like when they brought in like Valdez, who had done Pro League stuff, to DreamHack, you know, we would come around. When they brought in Fenner, who hosted part of the analysis desk, I think it was at the DreamHack or the WCS finals in Poitiers, which was literally in the middle of nowhere, France. People basically just get around and they're like, what do you think? How'd this person do? Worth bringing back or not? But my interactions with Blizzard haven't really been as much until say like the last year or two. And working with Blizzard is very interesting. They are much more hands-off with StarCraft than they are other games. I think that's because of the more casual start to everything. I know they're very aggressive with managing like Heroes of the Storm stuff. Their Overwatch stuff is a bit different. So from a StarCraft perspective, I probably have a more loose feel for how it works. Like, I'm trying to think of examples. You know, there was maybe one time on WCS cast in like 2014, this map Overgrowth had been in the map pool for 2 years. And I just said at some point, I was like, you know, Kev, every single series starts on this map. I really wish we'd get a new one because, you know, I just feel like this map's gotten a bit boring, right? And I got a non-direct message saying, "Hey, Blizzard didn't like that. Can you not say stuff? Can you not say stuff like that? You know, like that kind of stuff came up.
Hashtag
right?
filtered.
I like to think that I do
Yeah.
a pretty good job of being very positive when I'm doing professional broadcasts. I think there's a good amount of people in the StarCraft community that prefer my professional casting over my stream because obviously I don't have a filter when I'm streaming, and I'm a very sarcastic asshole, so that doesn't, you know, it doesn't translate when I'm doing like IEM.
Adam can relate to
right?
I can
Yeah,
relate
it
so
doesn't
fucking hard,
translate.
dude.
Yeah.
No.
When
I can relate
exactly.
so hard.
Yeah, so like when I do WCS casting, I'm basically a different person, but I like doing that. It's fun to do, but you have to tiptoe around some stuff. I really didn't have a crazy amount of things with them. I think the most that was like one thing. What is it? We had like a party stream. We did a fundraiser for a Red Bull event, and we got blackout drunk on stream, and then we had WCS the next day. And I mean, I was fine, but like I don't know. Someone came up to me, they're like, "Nate, I got a message from someone at Blizzard. They wanted to know why the chat was spamming 'Give Nate whiskey.'" And I was like, couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you.
Man.
We raised a lot of money to send some young American StarCraft players to Red Bull Detroit, where hopefully they didn't get mugged. And you know, so it's mostly limited stuff. I never had a lot of run-ins with them until we started doing like BlizzCon stuff, and then they started coming out to events more. You know, the Blizzard you know, people that I meet and stuff. You know, I meet like Kim Fan and Adrian Harrison, but we don't really talk all that much. Mark Olberts is usually at all the European events because Blizzard EU is just smaller, so it's easier for them to go to everything. And he's always been a super helpful person, but I've never
awesome.
felt like it was. Yeah, Mark is awesome. I've never really had too many altercations with them that have. I don't know, anything juicy. I don't have anything that good to share.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, it's weird to me that you don't or haven't had that much interaction. I think, you know, from Jeff and our perspective, I imagine, I don't know, I'm not going to speak for Jeff, but I would have envisioned you to have a little bit more, not like constant contact, but like some sort of involvement there because you know, from the outside in, and this kind of spins into what you know we're gonna talk about anyway, was just kind of like where we feel Blizzard went wrong with StarCraft 2's esport, because there was that pivot point where Blizzard decided to go puppet master and try and control as much of that entire scene as possible. Which was coincidentally about the time where everything went tits up real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, tits up, ass down. Everything was just brutal. So it's a little weird to hear you say that you didn't have much, but at the same time, I guess it's not surprising because they just seem to not be a big fan of communicating with the people that run their community, essentially from the outside, and I know that apparently, this is according to Panic, because Panic champions Blizzard in 2017 for their community efforts moving forward. So
Yeah.
I guess that means it's kind of okay with maybe Heroes and Overwatch, but
Not StarCraft.
I'm hoping that if there is to be some minor revival of StarCraft, whether the remaster brings more people back to StarCraft 2, or whether it's just people dumping themselves into the remaster as an esport, I really hope that they do things like talk to people like yourself and get a little bit more interaction there so that they can hear from casters and people that are directly involved at a high level in the community as to what's going on, because without an ear to the ground, you get things like the complete shitstorm that was Blizzard taking over StarCraft 2's esport and essentially ignoring everything that had been done previously, like deleted that canon, and then just tried to do something on their own, and it never really gained all that much traction until it was pretty much too late. So, for you, because you entered the scene not long before, or not, no, you know, like pretty soon after you entered, they took over. So what was it like for you in that transitional period? Like, was it kind of disappointing to see, because you would have had a lot more options if Blizzard had stayed out of it, as far as events and stuff that you could have been involved in. So what was that like for you as somebody breaking into professional casting?
So the two things for me, at least that kind of obscure a lot of it, was the big because I was a part of it, was the big downside of WCS was that it suffocated everything, right? But for me at the time, it was an okay thing, because, you know, it was basically my first real steady job that paid decently. For me, I didn't see it quite the same way as other people, because it was, you know, me and Kevin would go to the studio 2-3 times a week. The pay was pretty reasonable. Wasn't that bad. We weren't living in a super expensive place. We were splitting it with it was me, Roddy, and one of the ESL production guys. It was pretty nice. We weren't like in the city or anything. So as far as working with them, and as that went on, the worst part was just talking to not Blizzard, but the people that run the events, you know, like a friend of mine at a BC eventually he's like the guy in charge of like DreamHack Open now. So he during all of that went from being an observer to like kind of running things. And it comes down to the corporate hold that they had on the game was obviously not an amazing thing for it. Because if you try to talk to people, you're like, oh, is this event going to happen? Is this going to happen? Like, well, we can't do this unless we get approved by them, because it has to match their schedule. Because Blizzard will not give out tournament licenses anymore until they know for a fact that you will not conflict with anything WCS, be it a weekend WCS tournament or a studio broadcast. So it was a bit harder to see that from the inside, because obviously from my perspective, that was my up and up. That was becoming my bread and butter. I was able to pay off the bit of debt that I'd accrued from when I went to school. I was able to help my dad with some stuff. So I was loving life, and it was a very weird thing, because obviously that was the point in time where, as the tournament scene started to decrease and become just LECS, the community perception obviously went towards the DED game area.
That game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that was one of Blizzard's weak points always, was on the scheduling, because they wouldn't release schedules until like super late, like right up until events were like coming up, so people couldn't really plan. But like for stuff like this, you should be having your event schedules publicized almost like, if not a year in advance or something, so people know.
And that hasn't,
and you get it like a week before,
completely solved. Yeah, even that hasn't been.
It's gotten a
completely
little
solved.
better, but it's still pretty bad. Like that was one of the things I noticed. Now, this is, again, kind of like from my theory crafting on the whole thing, but the way I kind of see the whole way StarCraft probably should have gone, and you can agree or disagree with me here, is like, I feel like they should have had like the gameplay community aspect from Overwatch, like how they kind of publicize the game out, and how they kind of have that constant pipeline of Jeff Kaplan coming out and talking to everyone and explaining everything as it goes. I feel like if StarCraft had something more like that hands-on, it probably would have helped, but then had like the esports slant with how Heroes is handling their esports community. Because like Heroes isn't like, they have their big events, but there's other tournaments going on, like Heroes of the Dorm is going on right now, and that's people like going nuts over that from the Heroes side, and they're managing that real well, while Overwatch at the same time is, doing all their gameplay stuff really well. I feel like if StarCraft had a hybrid of that, they'd be all set instead of whatever hodgepodge they have going on now.
It's really weird when I think about it in terms of like comparison stuff in that area, though, because I do follow the other stuff that they do to a degree, and I know that they're going crazy on Heroes of the Storm stuff, and I don't follow that as much, but I do know that they're running into this issue already with the controlling stuff with like Overwatch. Like there's not dates for events. Tournament organizers can't get licenses because they have to wait for Blizzard to announce what they want to do. And all, like Julie follows all that stuff super well. She knows a lot of pros, and I know team owners, and it's basically like this like suffocating feeling, and that's pretty much what happened to StarCraft, right? Mm-hmm. So at least in my opinion, should have just been a bit more hands off from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Like when we've had discussions, like we've had like community summits where Blizzard's brought down a bunch of people. Somehow, not now that I even like think about it, like somehow like Jeff and Adam aren't there. But we've had one, I think the first one was like 2015, and it's basically like they get everybody together, like talk about it, like, what do you want to do for WCS next year? And everybody says the same thing. You know, it's like, oh, well, we'd love it if it could be this, you know, by country regional thing where USA has like this thing that builds in and it goes to like an MLG. Like 2012 WCS, most everybody agrees was about as good as it could have gotten for the non-Korean scene.
That was the peak.
And yeah, so that's something that has come up almost every time that stuff like that is discussed. But it just seems like it was something that, I mean, for whatever reason, couldn't be done again for budget purposes. It was probably an extremely expensive venture. But as far as like eating all the tournaments, which is what happened, I find that's a bit, I don't know. At least to me, that seemed like the thing that hurt a lot.
Yeah. What about? I guess let's switch over to the Starcraft Remastered. Let's go with the HD version of the game.
Yeah, what would you like to? Yeah, what we'd like maybe to see them correct their mistakes, kind of thing.
Well, I don't know.
Well, what do you think? What do you think? Because I've been keeping up. I've been keeping up with you when it comes to this, and you've been on edge.
Mixed.
You've been on edge, bro.
Yeah.
I've been seeing the tweets. There's some passive aggressive tweets coming out from you. About this Starcraft HD. You didn't get into Brood War. You weren't a Brood War guy. There's a lot of nostalgic hardcore Brood War people out there. You voiced that you would have liked to have seen some of the mechanics from StarCraft 2 get put into the new one. You've had other people that would tell you on Twitter, eat a dick. They don't need to change shit. And I see both sides of the story. In fact, we talked about it on another podcast on some of the things that we thought would go wrong or right with it. Do you think that this is going to be a flavor of the month? Do you think this is going to be a 3 to 6 month ordeal? It's going to split the community in half even more than what it is. And then it's going to be more of StarCraft 2 guys fighting with HD guys, Brood War guys. Or do you think this could be, you know, the future? David Kim's gone off StarCraft 2 now. What does that tell you? Does that tell you that they're giving up on StarCraft 2? They're kind of passing the torch. They're moving on to bigger and better things. Do they have full faith in this? What are your thoughts, man? There's so many different angles, right?
There's a lot of people crying doomsday, right? Since the remaster announcement, and then I feel today was another blow for sure with David Kim moving off of StarCraft 2 as well. So first things first, Brood War Remastered. It's for Korea. They're updating the game to run in a modern setup, but just the way that they want to split things, and I don't see it doing very well outside of Korea. Like when I talk about the mechanics, I'm like, look, I know that the biggest failure of StarCraft 2 as far as like how the game went, like the game itself was like StarCraft 2 wasn't the worst thing ever when it came out. It was fun, good competitive RTS. There's still a lot of people that play it, but Blizzard completely neglected the casual base. The casuals basically told get fucked like the entire time. It's like, well, fix the custom system. No, it took like 6 years and it's still not what everybody has been asking for, which is just a server browser that you can title whatever you want, which Overwatch already has. But I could rant about that forever. But the dismissiveness towards players who don't find enjoyment in grinding 8 hours a day is a huge blow. And StarCraft Brood War, whether remastered or not, is not going to cater to those people. Like the nostalgia factor is certainly there. You'll get a lot of people that are like, well, I never played it. So the campaign with updated graphics sounds great. I'm already sold on that. I can't wait to play it in 1440p with a bigger field of view. I'm sure it'll be limited for melee or 1v1 or whatever. So I see that value there. But like long-term multiplayer base being regrown, like I don't know. It's just a nostalgia thing. If you're playing the game again, you just remember, you're like, wow, there are so many new features for games that have come out that this game does not have. When you tell a unit to go somewhere, sometimes it just won't. Sometimes nope, just things just don't happen.
Might not make it there.
And I can see this from a different perspective where I'm like, I like the old Resident Evil setup, right? I like the shitty tank controls and not being able to see what's directly in front of me at all times, right? But I know that that's not really where you go as far as like it's not like not a greater good sort of thing. It's a nostalgia thing that you think back on. You're like, yeah, I liked this, a long time ago, and this brings back memories and feelings. But it's not what I want to commit to forever. So at least on the Brood War side of things, I do see it being it's probably going to sell really well. There's probably going to be a lot of people that never got into it that'll play the campaign. Yep. But everything else is just quality of life for Korea to continue their competitive scene, because that's not going anywhere.
So do you think if they went in the route of because what I thought was going to happen is they were going to remaster Brood War in the StarCraft 2 engine, and then we would basically have Brood War but in StarCraft 2 engine. Now, if they did that, do you think that would be a big thing in North America, not only to Korea? Do you think it would make it, or do you really believe at this point that StarCraft and RTS in general is just on its way out, and Korea will once again reign supreme in terms of it being... Or, well, I mean, it's always been, it's always been there, but, the North American scene was huge for a period of time. But, I mean, as in the North American scene is going to fizzle out, period, whether it's StarCraft 2, StarCraft Remastered, whatever the case may be. And then if you want to watch great StarCraft, you watch, Koreans play. Or do you think that if they went that route and they made it in the StarCraft 2 engine, that it could supplement out StarCraft 2 and we may actually have a viable esport in North America that people would want to play?
I think the two things that really make it probably better that they didn't make it in the StarCraft 2 engine is it's like a flavor of the last couple years thing, where a lot of old games are getting remastered, re-released, or updated in some capacity that they can run on modern systems. But I think it's just that's too much of a part of what StarCraft is. Like, the nostalgia is a big part of it. Like, there are people that do look back on the shitty controls and the 2D graphics, and if you want that genuine experience, I think I've actually spoken to Blizzard devs about this. They can't recreate the AI problems in the StarCraft 2 engine. They actually they'd have to
the quirks
break
just can't
it.
happen.
They
fixed
would
them.
they can't, because they were bugs. They were due to limitation. Like, a lot of that stuff was due to limitations of programming hundreds of units to do stuff.
Buffer limits and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So for my chats with them, and if they change that, then it loses what made it. So I always like the idea, of keeping some of that when you went into StarCraft 2. Obviously, people were excited about units like the Lurker, and everybody loves a carrier and shit like that. But it's a different time. This discussion did come up. It's something that at least in chatting with Blizzard employees, way before Brood War Remastered was even being rumored, we'd been polled about stuff like that. Would be could we do some sort of remaster in the game? And another thing that came up is it's already all been done. If you wanted to play the Brood War campaign,
you can do it, yeah.
Perfectly recreated in StarCraft 2 with all the modern features, you can do it for free. The game doesn't even cost money to play custom games, which they also terribly market. If you wanted to play through the whole Brood War campaign in the original campaign with all those units and fancy ass graphics, I think they've even got the cinematics and shit in there somehow. You can do that. Absolutely no problem. So sticking with the older stuff.
Even had Starbow for a while too.
Yeah, they did.
And that actually did get
that did well.
Pretty reasonable bit of traction.
Really well.
Yeah. It's such a shame to think back on that.
I feel like they wanted to distance themselves a bit from StarCraft 2 engine as a whole when they came up with the whole thing. They're we want to kind of do something new. Let's get some fresh blood back into it. Let's kind of see where we can go with it. Again, we talked about it last week. It'll only go for a couple of months, I feel like. Yeah. But, it'll be a nice bump.
And I think to that as well, just, the StarCraft 2 brand has just been, I think it's been pretty badly damaged the last few years in terms of how the game's been mishandled, mismanaged, and the negative aura. If you ask anybody about it, even if you like the game, if you know it's good, you know that if you bring it up anywhere, it's the first thing people say, right?
Yeah.
It's
why are you so salty?
SC2 in 2017, Kappa.
Lol. Yeah,
Lols.
exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, there was a point in time where that went from an exaggeration to kind of a fucking reality, right? It's not like as much as we want to sit here and be like, oh, stop bitching and whining, and oh, it's not a dead game. It's fucking dead. It is dead as hell.
There's a small
dead
seed,
3 or 4 times
of
over.
truth in it.
It's been cremated. It's been pissed on the ashes. It's been dead 4 or 5 times now. As much as we don't want to maybe admit it, it's, you know, the meme became a reality. It was spoken into existence, and now
Already
here we are.
dead.
It's already dead. Stop it! No. So, yeah. So there is a bit of truth to it. I mean, I personally hope that Brood War isn't just like a passing fad, like the remake, the HD version. Excuse me. And I think a lot of that, yeah, sure. It's obviously going to be popular in Korea. Brood War was always more popular in Korea. That wasn't some sort of revelation that the remake was likely going to be, you know, super popular across the pond. I think that was pretty much a given. But I hope that it's not just something that remains in this weird nebulous cloud of Korean subculture and actually remains a thing over here in some small part. I don't need to see it take over Twitch TV. I just want to see it have a healthy community, right? That's what I want to see from it. I just want to see it have support. I don't want to have to see people fight Blizzard to have that community. I just want it to kind of be free-flowing like it was for that beautiful short period of time between 2010 and late 2011, and everything was beautiful and sunshine and rainbows, and then it all went, you know, to hell after. I want that period back, but I want it applied back to this Brood War bit, because I think it's possible. I think it's doable, and there are old school casters and content creators that are waiting to help carry that community for a good long while. So I think as long as Blizzard doesn't try and pull what they did with StarCraft 2, which would blow my mind at this point if they did, after having seen how they've been treating this remake to this point. I think it has a great ability to, or a chance to be more than just a passing fad, and stick around for quite some time. And if it is a passing fad, I can live with that too. I just want to see it happen, and I want to see the hype come back, because yeah, the SC2 deaded, you know, DED apostrophe D shit. I would like that to go away for like maybe just 5 minutes, and have everybody be on the same page for a short period of time again, and just enjoy that shit. And I'm not gonna lie, I want to see some crazy ass. I don't care. I'm the guy that likes the freak show. I don't need the underdog story all the time. If I get to see 2 steroided Adderall fueled Koreans play fucking Brood War and just sweat it out, I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. Just give me Tasteless and Artosis carrying their 4-year-old children on their lap, casting StarCraft in front of like 10,000 people,
Clash of the
and
Titans.
I'm good. Yeah. I'm happy. So I want to. I hope we can see that. But that's a transition for StarCraft, and let's transition into what transitioning like is for our streams. Transitions. Panic, I know you plan on painting models on stream someday, so this information that you're about to get might be pertinent to you in a while. But
transitioning from not streaming to actually streaming.
Yes,
much of a transition there, but sure.
Exactly. So Nate, I know specifically, and I asked you before, you know, we did the cast if this was something you might want to talk about, because I'm seeing the passion and the struggle from the outside. You know, stop by the stream, and I see it wearing on you. Somebody's got that like 600 grit sandpaper. It's not doing a lot of damage, but pretty soon it's going to hit bone, and you're just going to be salty as all hell 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until that wound closes over. So I want to get your perspective on what it's been like for you, because particularly, and that's why it was good to talk about StarCraft leading up to this, is that the community, for as much as it has the capacity to be an incredible community, is so full of entitled assholes. It's crazy. So what has it been like for you since you've just started? I mean, this isn't that, that long ago that you started saying, hey guys, I kind of want to play other games. You know, just occasionally it'd be nice, 45 minutes here, 30 minutes there. What do you got? You know, you gotta stick around. So what's that been like for you? And what would you like to be able to do in the future?
So it's brutal, and the thing is, it comes out of there's 2 parts to it that at least for me really suck. And the first thing was, I hit my goal in StarCraft. You know, the game's not changing that much. Things aren't going that further up. It's stable. I've been able to see the numbers. I know that like the player base and the viewer base, like at least for what I'm doing, is sustainable for, maybe another year or two without really any issues. I'm still doing the best I've ever done since the last big patch in November. I've never had as many subs as I do now at any point this time last year. But it's just as someone who plays games, or at least when you play a game a lot, it's, for me, it was always coming up with a new goal. And the big one that was always there was getting Grandmaster, right? And I think Jeff, you totally feel me on this when it comes down to, it's a fucking hard game to stream and talk to people and be interactive. And I reached the point where I was like, well, how high in GM can I get? And then one day I'm like, you know what? I can't put on the kind of show that I want to. I can't run the stream that I want to if I'm so focused on gaining 10 MMR to move up one rank every fucking game that it just started killing me, because at that point I'm not just streaming, I'm not just having fun. I'm fucking grinding, trying to move up bit by bit. It turns into something else. Whereas before it was like, oh yeah, you can feel the progress, but when you're trying to move from the top 0.05% into the top 0.04%, that is a goddamn trek. Like I've already reached higher than almost everybody. Yeah, almost everybody that's gonna play the game. Like I've reached a very good rank that I've held for 2-3 years now in StarCraft 2. I just don't have anything else to push for. It kills me because they don't make big enough changes that it feels fresh going through that process again, because it gets too frustrating. And that one of the biggest things that helped with that when Legacy of the Void came out, at least, was co-op. But it's not like the community wants to watch that, right? They just want to watch people get salty playing 1v1s and raging when they lose, and I can't do that anymore. So that's the hardest part for me, is because I do like StarCraft, I like playing it, but limiting it is something that I not only have to do for my own sake, but obviously you look towards the future, and I like doing other stuff. So, that's all I can think about when I'm looking at this. And obviously the toughest part for me is I'm out here in Los Angeles because I was used to be doing basically contract work for Blizzard through ESL, and now that that's all gone, they basically just said like, oh hey, we're gonna have gigs for you, don't worry. And nothing last year, and going into this year I'm like, fuck it, this is it. I stayed 1 year under the assumption that things would get better. Things didn't get better, at least from a professional perspective. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm looking for somewhere a little bit cheaper to move and just slowly eking StarCraft down to being at maximum half my stream. The only thing that makes playing the game fresh for me is taking time off of it. And obviously, as a streamer, consistency is very important. It's not an option. Yeah. I can't just take a week,
So this is kind of aimed at Nate and Jeff also. What sort of strategies have you guys been using to transition? Like, because again, there's the actual act of deciding you're going to do it, which we've heard about, but what sort of strategies or methods are you doing to kind of like keep your viewership with you, but then also kind of bring in the newer viewers while you kind of test the waters with other titles? I know Nate's been playing a lot of PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, games that I hate genre, and then Jeff's been playing some other weird games from like the 1980s or something. But like, what sort of approaches have you guys been taking to like finding your new niche, or like what to integrate into your streams?
You want me to go?
Yeah.
All right. Well, for me, it's. I can feel Nate's pain, and Nate is. And I don't give a fuck anymore, right? I not only have I achieved everything that I've ever wanted to in StarCraft, I've achieved everything that I've wanted to do as an entertainer. Period. I've got the things I need in my life. I've got a very supportive community. I still see my good friends here. Life is good. And my biggest challenge that I have with streaming, and it has changed over the years, is challenging myself. And I feel as though if I'm not progressing in life, and if you even just take streaming out of the picture, or YouTube out of the picture. If I'm not progressing, whether it's my health in terms of getting in shape, eating better, the type of money that I make, the relationships that I'm growing, if certain areas of my life aren't doing good, I'm usually rattled. Now, it's a little different for me because typically if my stream isn't going the way I want it to, my life is kind of rattled up. My relationship, is always good, but I can be on edge around the house. I can be, I can, maybe not talk to my family as much as I would like. If I go to a thing like PAX and I'm away from my stream for 5 days, I know that in the back of my mind, there goes 200 subs. There goes $1,000 plus in support from fans. There goes the follows, and there goes 20-30% of my viewership when I come home. And now I'm going to have to go ahead and grind 10 hours a day for the next 3 weeks in order to get back to where I was pre-PAX. So, all those things go to my mind. And a lot of people, a lot of viewers, they don't see those sort of things. They don't understand the stress and the pressure of having this job. It's a great job. If you are as fortunate as I am and have such a supportive community, financially it's very rewarding. It's very motivating to know that you've created your own job. You take care of your family. Being able to move to a nice city like, LA and things like that, wouldn't have been possible without the progression as an entertainer and as an entrepreneur. But when it comes to transitioning, I'm kind of going full circle here. For me, it's not just about the game I play anymore. It's about hitting personal goals. Am I happy when I played this game? Am I happy? It's a really fucky thing, man, because the best thing that you can do in terms of streaming, and Nate has been doing it the right way, is playing the game that you're known for first, obviously, playing that for half of your stream or a good amount of hours, waiting till you hit your peak and then transitioning into a game so that you're pushed up further on the list, so that even when you go to the other game, you have an ability to be able to be noticed, or even be hosted by other big streamers that see you. Those sort of things that all helps. But at the end of the day, even when you do that, you get fans. The real fans, they don't say anything. The real fans enjoy it. They'll support you in whatever. And I am fucking the people that support this podcast, the people that support my stream, the people that are just, that'll like a fucking tweet on my Twitter. Those are the champions, because those are the ones that are getting me through and getting us through our everyday thing. But
God bless them.
God bless them. You fucking right. But it's the ones that are there because you're just on, or they don't really care about you. They just want to see you play StarCraft, or they just want to see you play this.
It's your
and
core
then the
audience.
moment your core audience. Once somebody comes in and you've switched over to, say, when I'm playing RuneScape and then I play Kingdom Hearts for 3 days because I want to, you have some assholes that come into the chat and are like, "Where's your viewership, man? What happened?" And they say these things, and it hurts, man. It hurts. And then they wonder why you're in a pissy mood. It's like, dude, I'm already mad that I have to not play the game that I'm used to playing and that I'm known for and that I get recognition for. I'm already fighting this inner battle of wanting to have fucking fun or wanting to eat. I'm already fighting this. So the least you could do is shut the fuck up. And if you don't like what I'm playing, go watch somebody else's stream. But of course, you've got those people. But when that happens, it's yeah, sure, we're streamers. We got to get thick skin and we got to be able to take these things. And oh, boo-hoo, I understand that. But what it does for me, and I'm talking about me, is it makes me question my motives even more. It makes me go, why am I doing this? Do I still want to play StarCraft full time? Can I even afford, where is this going to be in a year from now? And I was always the type of person that looked far ahead. That's why I jumped on the League of Legends train. Some people say, there's bandwagon streamers that'll play the newest, biggest game and they'll get the biggest views, and that's phenomenal. I'm more of like a bandwagon community guy, right? I hop when I know that I have overstayed my welcome and my my worth is no longer or my value there is no longer where I want it to be, or if I'm not having fun anymore. And, you know, usually I go on stints for a year, year and a half, 2 years with a certain game, and then I always dabble with other games just to get that audience knowing that I do play other games, and eventually I will stop playing said game and I will move on to other games, because that is the reality of longevity in this industry. If you stay with one game for too long, you're fucked. And the only way that you're not fucked is if you are of such a huge core fan base, like Adam said, that will support the shit out of you, that you can stay there for a few years and live off the support of your fans, which is great. If you've got that, that's phenomenal. But in order to get that core, you still have to go and play games that are growing and that are big. So for me, it's never really so much been about jumping games and transitioning into games, although that's a byproduct of me not progressing in life and feeling like I'm fulfilled. When I have to wake up in the morning and dread playing Starcraft, that's where I was, where I had accomplished my goals. I had gotten GM. I have created the biggest series with Adam on YouTube. Where else do I go? Do I just keep this hamster wheel running? Because I did that for about a year and a half after I got GM, and it was great. You know, I was making money. I was, you know, my stream was still growing to an extent, you know, but at the end of the day, I wasn't growing as an entertainer. The content was getting lazy. It was getting repetitive. It was the same stuff, and I wasn't fulfilled. And that was when I decided to make the transition. And of course, I went on a transition to a big game like League of Legends, and then, you know, I did that whole thing. So yes, it's a tough thing. It's tough knowing that you're going to lose income. It's tough not knowing where your stream is going to, it's tough leaving a safe place. It's no different than working a regular 9-to-5 job, and you got great benefits, and you know you've got your schedule. You work from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. You got the weekends off. It's a cushiony job. But then you've got a family member or friend or an opportunity that arises where you can potentially make more money. You'll have more freedom. You can grow to be your own boss. You can make your own decisions. And man, doesn't that sound sexy? But it is so scary to leave a secure thing. And a lot of that in streaming, it's fake security. It's this facade, or there's this smoke that is like, yeah, you're doing great now. You're doing great now. You're doing great now. But where are you going to be in a year? Are you being real with yourself? Are you lying to yourself? Where are you truly going to be in a year? Are you going to be happy? Are you still going to be able to pay the bills? And what I've always done is I've just taken the leaps of faith, and I've always taken my personality and my shticks everywhere I went, and I've always managed to keep my core, and I'm very blessed that way. But it's not an easy thing. I know I talked for a good 5 minutes there, but it's well, 10 maybe, I don't know, but it's a passionate thing of mine. It's something that I deal with.
Of course, it's your fucking
all
career.
the time, right? And there's a lot on the line when you make these switches.
Yeah, of course. So Nate, go for it. What's your side? What's your side to that?
Dude, I mean, it's so fucking true though. That's how it is. And I mean, I haven't had to do that yet, but you know, I mean, at least for me, when I look at examples of ways that it can not turn into a horrible, painful death for me, as you look at like how Jeff's been able to do it. And like, obviously you already pointed out, like I'll play StarCraft and I'll play something else, but the problems behind it, you know, I'll finish my stream and I'll go hang out with Julie. I'll just be like, you know, we'll go for a walk. I just didn't have fun today. You know, I played StarCraft for 5 hours, and you know, some games were okay, games were all right. I went up to 2,000 viewers. It was great, right? Got a couple subs, like people in chat said whatever, no big deal. And then I'll go and like, you know, and then I played a couple games of H1Z1, I played with one of my friends or solo, and I had such a good fucking time. And 75% of people leave, and I'm like, you can't, I'm like, it's the most difficult thing. It's like, I am having a better time. I'm definitely being funnier because I'm feeling better. I'm more relaxed. I'm not as stressed. The game itself just lets me talk to my stream more. And obviously, you know, as you're saying, like, the way the core audience works, most people don't give a shit. They're like, this isn't what I want to see. Fuck off. And for me, that's the toughest part right now, is because I need that, because I passed the point of I should have gotten into something else more seriously, and I've dabbled in other stuff from time to time. I would have periods where I would play a lot of other stuff, and then something would pull me back to StarCraft, whether it was a tournament or some patch. And at least for me, I feel like I'm at the point where I've more than overstayed my welcome in terms of just doing that, because my content for StarCraft is slowly getting worse. You know, people can tell that I don't enjoy it as much, and there's still a lot of people that will watch it regardless of whatever. The same people that won't watch anything else, and then there's my dedicated fans that do watch everything else. And the thing is, through all of that I've noticed is, fuck, at this point, I've been doing so much other stuff now. A lot of my most dedicated fans, people who actually, you know, the big donators, the longtime subs, they don't even show up in my chat until I'm playing something else.
Yep.
Because they notice it too. Yep. And they're like, yeah, well, the stream is much better when you're playing something else. Like, I'm gonna stream until I reach whatever the cutoff area is of Persona 5 this weekend, and I know my viewership's gonna be super shit. I'll be happy if I break 200 viewers. I was stoked that I had like over 200 playing Zelda Breath of the Wild, and that was like the first time I'd done a stream with no StarCraft in it in maybe like 2 or 3 years, right? And I know that the chat is going to be great. There's going to be a lot of people super happy, and the people that really like watching what I do are going to be there. And that is, it's just
energy.
Yeah, it's just a difficult thing, because I want to enjoy, you know, playing StarCraft. I want to make this, I want to, you know, really obviously drag it out as much as I can, because I do like the game, but the stress comes down to it. And most of those core people are just like, fuck you, dude. You make money doing this. I don't care about whatever your shit is. It's like, you suck at the game, kill yourself, you know, just the normal shit that you deal with every day. But I'm just like, it's, you know,
so
you gotta be happy, you know.
Here's a quick question for you. Here's a quick question, and we can just give it a yes or a no. You don't even need to go crazy into it, and all right. And if you don't want to answer it, don't answer it.
All right.
So if you could play a game like Persona 5 or a game like H1Z1 or whatever it is that you want to play, and you were guaranteed the same amount of viewers or just maybe 20-30% less, would you be done with StarCraft? Would you say, I'm done? Like, there's no reason for me to play this anymore. You know, I don't have to worry about the bills being paid. I don't have to worry about growth. Would you just jump?
Yeah, until something big came. I mean, if something is
no hesitation.
Yeah.
If something big came out, you know, the thing is, I've started to understand this, and it's currently, you know, every day I think about this move I'm gonna make when my lease is up in July, because I don't know what it costs to live. I know Panic. I know you live in New York, so you know that rent can be expensive, but rent is fucking expensive in Los Angeles. This place was super nice. Well, I'm working when I was like getting a lot of work, you know, doing WCS and shit, nothing was tough. It was great. Everything's on easy street. If I needed to take a day off, if I wanted to take 2 days off to just chill and do nothing, and then I could go back to StarCraft with a fresh thing, you know, that was totally doable. It was totally fine. But I cannot wait to move somewhere cheaper so that I can say to myself, I'm not having fun playing this game. I want to take a week off, and I just want to play something else. Yep. You know, fucking Metal Gear Survive, some other game that catches my attention comes out. I want to play that shit for a week and then maybe be like, oh, you know what? Okay, it's been a while since I played some StarCraft. I don't mind playing it a bit. Or there's a patch that came out. Something's different, you know, something's different. Something draws my attention to it. And I hate that I can't do that, because I know that my reliance on doing so much StarCraft is what makes my StarCraft content so much worse than it used to be. Mm-hmm. And I don't even rage at the game anymore. Now I just play, and I'm just like, well, either something crazy awesome happens, or it's just me sitting there just playing the game with more viewers than anything else that I could possibly do. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's that interaction that
I know the struggle.
I'm constantly thinking about.
I know it.
Here's my bit from, you know, from those of us out there smashing those 100 views concurrent. Those living that dream. No, here's my take on it. Not necessarily because of my stream size, but because of my stream content. So, between the three of us, you guys both relied, obviously, as we've everybody knows, on StarCraft as your main content driver, almost flat out for years on end before anything even started to crop up. And I had the shortest period of time where I attempted to do that, and it was with Hearthstone when it was still in beta, and I was playing Hearthstone for like 12 hours a day. And that's actually when I got my sub button on Twitch, because I had 800 concurrent viewers every time I played Hearthstone.
That shit.
No, it was crazy. It was by far the best I ever did with streaming. And so I did that, and I did that for a couple of I think it was like three months or so, and then I realized quickly that I was not of the constitution of somebody who could physically wake up every day and play the same game over and over and over again. No matter how much of a competitive person I may be, either both internally, like setting goals for myself, or externally in terms of playing a game that's competitive, I figured out quickly that that was not for me. I was obviously very happy to see the numbers. You know, as a streamer, it's one of the, especially for those of you who are looking to start streaming or listening to this at some point, the hardest hurdle you're ever going to have as a streamer, short of the amount of hours that you're putting in, but that's related to this, is looking at your view count. You look over and you're going to see when you first start 0 people or like 3 people. And one of them is Nightbot, and you've like nobody fucking talking in your chat, and it's just, the struggle is so real. And because, you know, despite the fact that you're playing something that you might like or whatever, the most gratifying part is knowing that there are people out there that want to consume the content that you're creating. So that part was gratifying to me, but that didn't outweigh me waking up and going, shit, I need to play Hearthstone for 12 hours today, and I really don't want to play Hearthstone for 12 hours today because Zulok sucks, and I like to play Druid, and I don't want to play Zulok for 12 hours just to be like everybody else. And so I almost, after that 3 months, I went back to my variety caster roots, which is the, in my opinion, hardest thing to do on Twitch. Is be a variety caster.
Oh yeah,
Modding
especially when you don't
Skyrim.
have
Modding
huge
Skyrim.
views, right?
Unless you're lyric or
Yeah,
somebody
exactly.
who's already enormous and game hopping, you shoot yourself in the foot each and every time you start a new game. And I was super lucky because we had LAGTV as a Kickstarter for our streaming careers, right? So even after all these years, I still have a very specific core of people that will watch me play anything. But my growth is pretty much, you know, it's flatlined. It doesn't go north. It doesn't really go south. It's just there. So even though I get to play different games that I like for what Nate just said, is I just want to move to a place that's cheaper so that I can play, you know, Hatoful Boyfriend for, you know, 6-7 hours. And just,
That's the pigeon
love
game,
my
right?
life.
That's the fucking
That's
pigeon
the pigeon
game.
game. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to play Hello Kitty Island Adventure and not have anybody judge me, like that shit, which is great. But what I'm going to say is that I hope that, like Jeff does, for example, with RuneScape now and League before that and everything that he's done, is that I hope that you do find something that you can make your main game as a platform. And I say this because as nice as it is to be able to play whatever you want, as a variety caster, I now equally hate the fuck out of everything. I don't really enjoy games anymore. It was one thing for me when I first started getting into streaming and doing StarCraft content and you know, whatever else I did at the beginning, Hearthstone. I was, you know, when you first start out, it's honeymoon period, everything's fucking awesome. But after a while, you realize that video games are no longer an escape. It's just your job. And you don't get to choose, okay, I just got home from work or school, and now I can play some games and fucking relax. And I can turn it off when I get angry at the game and be like, fuck this shit, and just turn it off and walk away. You don't have any of those freedoms anymore. Now it's, I need to turn this on. I need to put on a face, unless you're, jaded in the game like Jeff and I are at this point, and just literally tell everybody to go fuck themselves and nobody cares anymore. Until you get to that point, you're just stuck in this little box. And so if you have a main game that, even though you might wake up in the morning and say to yourself, I really don't want to play this for the next 6 to 7 hours before I switch games, the beauty of having a main game like that is that it still kind of keeps this feeling like a job, so that when you switch to a game that you want to play, you still enjoy yourself as if you were playing it casually, which is something that I wish I could have, but personality-wise, I've tried over the years many different times to get back into like a competitive game to just lock in as a mainstay. I can't do it. I kill myself. So... but at the same time, that's the
But
struggle
Adam,
that I deal
you're
with.
one hell of a podcast host, brother. All right, when we blow this podcast up to the stratosphere, we're already making 3 G's a month, baby. We're already making that dirty esports money.
I know.
Once we get to that 5 G's, bro, you're gonna be able to move up in house. Let's go.
I'm putting leather seats in my Toyota.
Noise.
Go.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's from my perspective as a variety caster, because there's like this level of sexiness with streaming where you go from, I want to be this guy that only plays this one game and has 10,000 people watching them and it's whatever, and there are some downsides to that, and I want to be and then you get to that point where you might be like a Nate or a Jeff who aren't, pulling in 10,000 people, so it's not really, you're not getting so much money that you're like, I don't, who gives a shit, I'll just keep playing this game, and you want to change and play something else, so
you're not making fucking money.
Sexiness factor, the sexiness factor of the variety caster then becomes a thing, but then as a variety caster, you sit there and go, well, no, then everything sucks equally, so you suggest... Just definitely, my suggestion to anybody that's getting into streaming is find something that you can play for long periods of time, always as a base, and then play games that you want to play as a relaxed downturn last 3 hours, 4 hours of your stream, because then you will still have some enjoyment of playing the games that you want to play.
Just to quickly add on to that is basically been my thing. My current predicament is more born out of, I know that I'll be able to take a plunge into another community, which is what I really want to do. I want to commit to something else because I'm still a competitive person. I want to move into something new. I want to have a new adventure and a new goal to improve myself at something. But yeah, obviously I'm flopping all over the place right now because I'm still in this point where I can't afford to really limit my StarCraft that much yet. So I'm like, well, if I have a chance to play anything, I'm going to fucking take it right now,
Yeah, just testing the waters all the time, right? Just putting your feet in the pond and seeing what sticks and instead of maybe playing that game once or twice a week, maybe now you're playing it 3 or 4 times and then just kind of seeing what works, right? And there's new games that come out all the time. Guys like us are just always kind of waiting for that next big game to come out. That not everybody's going to jump on board with, because there are people that are famous in RuneScape and famous in, League and famous in StarCraft and famous in, whatever, that are not going to jump. They may test the waters with that game, but they're not going to leave their mainstay because of everything that we talked about. And that is when, medium-sized streamers can go in for the jugular and really make a name for themselves and kind of claim a new top spot somewhere. But that's just kind of the patience game, right? Just kind of holding out as long as possible in hopes that eventually that happens. For me, the hope was kind of on Overwatch when that came out, but man, Overwatch Season 1 sucked, and the whole direction in which they were going with the game at the time was just so all over the place. So, I just never really got into it, and now, of course, it is far too late to just kind of jump in there and do it now. So right now it's just kind of, it's one of those things. I'm very happy playing RuneScape now, so my thing is I'm just grinding the RuneScape, having a great time. Community's actually wonderful, and then playing what I like at night and kind of switching it up and doing exactly what Adam's saying and just kind of having that little bit of freedom, but still being confined to sort of one mainstay type thing that people kind of know you for.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen. No, go. No, you had something else.
No.
Go for it.
I was the only other thing I was gonna say is, and it's not a negative thing about StarCraft. It's just that I've been doing it for so long.
You're ready for a change.
You need new goals in life, and that's one of the big. That's one of the big things that makes
need to keep it fresh.
Yeah. 6 years
100%.
is a long fucking time.
Long time.
especially
Long
in
time.
gaming, man. You think about that, how
Oh,
much
yeah.
gaming has changed in 6 years, and being an entertainer for 6 years, dude. Started this shit when we were like 22 years old. I'm fucking 30. You know, it's absolutely insane to think about that, right? And it becomes even more insane when you think, well, can I really do this for another 6 years? Like, can I really grind this for another? I have to make a change at some point. I have to, because there's no way, right? So that's pretty. It's a crazy thing. We could talk about that for days,
Forever.
really. Yeah,
Yeah.
forever.
We could sit here and be a bunch of old, jaded men and barely crusting 30 years old for forever, I'm sure. But we are going to go and take a small break here and sell out hard, as always, during our break. Nate, do you want to stick around? We're going to talk about the Persona 5 Gong Show, but if you need to head out to have dinner, din-dins with the wifey, then feel free to bounce out. But do you want to stick around?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
well.
just that's just
Yeah.
wonderful.
Let's talk. Let's play
Well,
ball.
You know what the fine folks at home should do, Adam, while this break is going on, because they've done such a great job, and I'm not saying this sarcastically.
What should they do, Jeff?
They should go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and go and leave a review, because that shit brought us to number 2 on the gaming
did.
podcast, and the views on iTunes have doubled.
Went through the roof. Yeah.
Straight up doubled. So shout outs to all of you motherfuckers out there that has been going over and leaving
All
a
30
fire
of you.
review. 30. Hey, that's dude, I went to some of the huge podcasts.
Oh, I know.
And they've
And
got
they don't
like
have any
10
reviews.
reviews and shit. I'm like,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
the
yeah.
hell?
30's good.
So, for people to go out of the way and do that, thank you so
big.
much. And
Yeah,
go do that
yeah.
while we're shamelessly promoting our Patreon. Go do that too.
I should also
Absolutely.
go follow Nate.
Yes, and go
Yeah,
follow
well, you
Nate.
already, you
Yes,
can
yes.
you can see that Nathanias TV under his beautiful mug right there. You see that? You can go follow that man. But we'll be
streams
back.
every day.
We'll be back talking about the Persona 5 streaming restrictions fiasco. We're also gonna talk about Power Rangers and that Xbox Scorpio hype when we get back. So sit tight, roughly 5 or so minutes, and Technical Alpha will continue. So see you soon. Hey guys, if you're enjoying Technical Alpha and are interested in supporting us, do I have a solution for you? We've set up this Patreon page to help us help you, help us and you. We've got a list of options that would make a used car salesman cry that provide you with a range of goodies for your support. Head on over to patreon.com/technicalalpha to see what's up for grabs. Like fancy badges and stuff? Subscribe to us on Twitch to get access to, well, badges and stuff. Not big on subscriptions. We have a button below that allows you to directly throw money at our faces. Careful you don't take those eyes out though. We are so very fond of our eyes. Honestly though, while we like to joke about the sellout, just being a regular listener is a huge help, and we're incredibly thankful for all of your support. Technical Alpha will continue soon, so sit tight. ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Technical Alpha has returned. It's gotten a hell of a lot prettier in here since we were gone. I mean, I don't know what's happened, but I think a couple of us are looking a lot more attractive than we were only a few minutes ago. We've all got such great faces for radio.
Oh
it's beautiful. God, no. Look at us go. Jeff, if your white balance was ever any better at auto-correcting itself, we'd be having a rave in here, bro.
Woo!
It is real. So very real. Welcome back, everybody, from that lovely sellout break. Hope you enjoyed the sellout. Once again, if you're not already checking us out on iTunes, we are there, as well as Google Play Music, Patreon, SoundCloud, anywhere you can imagine. These VODs go up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/LifeSglitchTV. And of course, if you're listening to this at home and you've never seen us live, we are live every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/TechnicalAlpha, where you too can see things on fire in a live environment. It's a beautiful thing, really. Just
I saw you put up the update on the Patreon as well.
I did, yes, and I'm going to talk about that now that we're back from that that little breakerino. So we have a new stretch goal on the Patreon page, and that is I don't think we actually have a name for it because I don't think you can name them, but essentially it's for a $5,000. So we're pretty friggin' close as it stands right now. I think that puts us at roughly what 1,800 more to go before we hit that point, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, we lost $100 guy, so there's one spot open there. So I think we're like 1,900 off.
Yeah, so we're pretty close, and that one is going to get us together to be able to spend another couple of hours a week, the three of us sitting down and doing bonus tech support segments that will go both out to the RSS feeds as well as hit up on YouTube, and it will allow us to answer more of your guys' questions from Patreon. You know, the $10 and higher can participate in that tech support question bit that we talk. You know, we have a couple of questions from the community at the end of our podcasts, and we're going to kind of expand on that once we hit that goal and provide you guys with some bonus additional content. So if that strikes your fancy, you can head on over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/technicalalpha, and become part of that process, and maybe we can start answering all the important life questions, like why in the shit is Atlas Japan still living in 1983?
Ooh, nice segue.
Isn't
I'm so hyped for this game. I'm so hyped for this game. God damn it!
I think this is gonna be the Nate and NovaWar segment here. Well, Tabin, you're not getting the game, are you?
No, I mean I have comments on it because it's kind of it's a weird situation, but it's an interesting one at the same time. So I have a lot of opinions on it. But yeah, this is definitely gonna be a salt fest between who's saltier right now. We've got the potassium-based Nate and the sodium-based Adam.
Oh wait! Oh, you got rage? I got rage too. 1 sec.
I'm mad.
You guys
Let me
didn't
tell
watch
you
the
about my
TLDW,
meme
some
rage.
rage meters.
So, this is a 2-scale game. This is actually, the disc is really large now. They had to fit a lot of game on here.
How much did you pay for that, Adam? Be honest. How much did you pay for that?
How much did it cost in Canada?
After what they pulled too much, I actually don't remember, and it was unfortunately before I had Amazon Prime, so I could have saved 20%.
Bullshit, bro. How much did you pay for that?
No, I honestly don't remember. I paid because I pre-ordered this the day it was made available.
You
remember.
Fucking remember.
Oh, you definitely remember.
I paid. I can ballpark it. It was like 100 and I want to say 150 or 100.
Oh,
what?
Fuck me, dude. Fuck.
Maybe I'm confused because I can check.
I can probably check.
I can probably check because
Canadian peso?
Basically not just the game. This is the one that comes with like all the extra bits and pieces, but.
Does it come with like a fucking blow up weeaboo doll or some shit?
What are you gonna do with the bag, Adam? What are you gonna do with the bag?
The bag. I'm gonna hold a bottle of my tears in it. That's what I'm gonna do with the fucking bag. No. This is the base game is obviously not $150 fucking dollars. It would be like
starving
$70
children out there, Adam.
Yeah. Well,
See,
guess what? I'm starving too.
You and your Canadian dollarinos.
I know the pesos are strong. I can't remember how much because
it was a good deal.
Paid,
it was a good deal in
I
America.
paid for that and Last Guardian at the same time, and they were both collector's editions, and I can't remember what each of them were, but they were both kind of in the same ballpark. But I think that one was cheaper. I think it was like 100. It was between 130 and 150, I want to say, for the collector's edition.
That's crazy.
But I am a big Persona fan, right? Like that, like Persona. I'm not the biggest Persona fan, but I'm a pretty big fan. And this whole thing has annoyed me, not just because I wanted to stream it, but just because even if you took out of the fact that I want to be able to stream it, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no angle you can attack this at where the logic they're trying to use makes any sense, because they're using logic based on information that doesn't exist. So I don't, it's aggravating. But for me personally, I got into Persona, like a lot of people in North America, I got into Persona through Persona 4. Persona 3 wasn't really a thing here until people played Persona 4 and then went back to Persona 3. Persona 4 was the jumping in point for a lot of people. It reviewed extraordinarily well, and it was still a super niche title. Possibly one of the most niche titles that you could have, without having it blow up like Persona 5 has kind of blown up in the marketing sense. But I watched Vinny Caravella and Jeff Gerstmann from Giant Bomb when they first had their office after Jeff got fired from GameSpot, and they started Giant Bomb up, and they were in, and I can't remember where they were in California, but they were literally in the basement of this beat up freaking building, and they had this couch that they literally stripped off the side of a road. It was like this 1970s orange ass couch that they put a blanket over so they didn't get AIDS. And then they set this whole thing up, and every morning before they started their workday, they sat down and they played between like 30 minutes and an hour of Persona 4. And it was to be entertaining because Vinny was kind of into that thing, but Gerstmann was well known and still well known for absolutely loathing anything to do with anime. Fucking hates anime to death. And so it was kind of like this weird dichotomy of somebody who loved the genre or liked it and somebody who wanted to see it burnt alive. And the beautiful thing was by halfway through the game and certainly by the end of it, Gerstmann thought Persona 4 was fucking incredible. And was a really crazy experience. That, in what they called the endurance run, ran daily, 5 days a week, for 8 months. And I woke up and I watched that shit every single day before I went to university for 8 months. They did a whole bunch of stuff in the game, so many like pre-internet memes started coming up because of that endurance run. And it put Persona 4, as far as I'm concerned, on the map in North America. This endurance run was watched by hundreds of thousands of people. And
were they allowed to
still
stream it?
Well, back then they were.
Are you sure you're not too far into this rant? Are you not too far into this rant? You might be. You might get DMCA'd by yourself in the future. You gotta be
I know. I might get wrecked.
I'm pretty sure Adam also told us this story on the first edition of Technical Alpha. We were talking about our favorite
probably,
games.
yeah. But just to frame it for those who maybe didn't hear that, like just to understand, not just for me, but for honest to God, I'm not joking when I say 80% of any kind of popularity Persona 4 saw in North America came from things like the endurance run, where people were doing internet content for that game. Because that's not a game that gets a lot of shine in North America back then. Now, a little bit more frequently, but back then, not a chance in hell. And it blew Persona 4 up considerably. They even got to go on and do Persona 4 Golden for the PS Vita or whatever the hell it came out on later on. Yeah, he's got it in his hands right now.
Fighting game.
It's good. So it's crazy to me that they couldn't possibly know that at this point. That Persona is a super niche title in North America, and that any game in this genre that can use all the advertising it can possibly get its fucking hands on. Anything and everything that it can do to sell copies is good, because they take a lot of time to make these games and probably a shitload of money to sell it to 4.5 people in Japan and the extra person or two in North America. They need all the coverage they can get. And there was so much hype for this game leading up, not just within this Persona community, but kind of outside of the Persona community. And I was like, this is the show. People are finally going to know who Persona is or what Persona is. Atlas is going to be put on the map. Even more. Yeah, exactly. But in this super positive light, I was, oh my God, I've been waiting for this game for, since whenever I watched the Endurance Run. It's been years. Years and years and years and years and years. Because of the Endurance Run, I went out and bought a PlayStation 2 and Persona 4 just to play Persona 4, and I never touched it since. It's one of my favorite games ever friggin' made. And I only know about it because of something that they are disallowing right now for Persona 5. And that blows my fucking mind. I don't think Japan, because we've seen this from Japanese developers before, with Square Enix and Nintendo for YouTube content. We've seen this from the Japanese developers before. Honest to God, I don't think they understand the fucking gravity of internet-created content for video games and the amount of good shit that comes from having that. The only thing that I could ever think of where this hurts you is if you've made a shit game and people find out that it's shit. That's literally the only way this hurts you. Persona 5 is currently second only to Breath of the Wild for Metacritic this year. That is how fucking good this game is. And nobody's going to be talking about that now because they're going to be talking about how fucking stupid Atlas Japan is. Well, actually, this was the last point I wanted to make before I pass this off to Nate, is that the unfortunate part is there's going to be a lot of people not talking about how this is Atlas Japan. They're going to be putting this on just Atlas of America, which is, for all intents and purposes, a glorified, localization company. They're not the people making the Persona games. And yet they're probably, because they did the public announcement, the ones that get dumpstered for having been the messenger. And it's just, it boggles my mind. It doesn't make any sense. Nate, how do you feel about this? Because you got the PS Vita.
Before we hand it off to Nate,
it looks like.
Before we hand it off to Nate, do we actually give the audience like a full rundown on kind of what Atlas Japan did? I don't think we actually went over it for everyone.
Well, sure. I mean, Nate, do you know what they? Yeah. Okay, so you can do that.
Basically, the Atlas America, to make this post, is also important to mention. Atlas USA tweeted out this thing, and they put it on their website, in regards to streaming this game, because we don't want spoilers of this game, which has already been out for a while in Japan, to ruin people's experience, since Persona is generally more of a single run type of game. You're not doing a bunch of different. You're not something the most replayable type of game you're ever going to play. And they're like, well, we don't want anybody to stream past a specific date in the game. The game has a calendar, days pass by, and they're like, once you hit this date, we do not want you to be broadcasting or putting up any videos at all, because this is where crucial plot elements come out that can ruin the game for someone who otherwise hadn't played it yet. And I think they also mentioned certain boss battles they didn't want on YouTube or whatever as well. And basically, I think this point was about 1/3 into the game is what people have been telling me. It's at this point, it's that's it. First third of the game, nothing else. And they did say that they would be issuing DMCAs to have people's channels brought down if they were caught violating this. Yeah.
So it's not even here's a warning, we're going to, it's going to be whatever. I mean, you're running the risk of flat out getting your channel suspended by doing that. And Twitch, Twitch, here's something I'm going to put on Twitch for this as well. If this was a couple of years ago, partners would be getting specific emails that said, here are the guidelines for this game by the developer, and this is what we as Twitch are going to uphold and what you need to be aware of. The closest thing we got for that from Twitch right now in the year 2017 was the Twitch support Twitter saying, hey guys, kind of be careful about when you're streaming your Persona 5, and that was literally the whole tweet. There was no specifics, there was no how much of this is Twitch upholding, are they all in, are they partially in, what will be the result if Atlas Japan comes over and singles out a stream, is it going to be a temp ban, is it going to be a channel closure? There's nothing, and that used to be that used to be the case, but we're not getting that anymore.
And the worst part about this, at least from my perspective as Mr. Wanting to stream other games, do other stuff, is I'm not the guy that's making big money off this game. I just want to play it and enjoy it with my viewers. It affects everybody. This isn't just like, they didn't say, hey, big channels are probably the ones that are going to be targeted by this. They're like, no, completely across the board. And back to what you said about the Twitch support thing, Twitch didn't come out and say anything useful at all. Like, they're like, oh, hey, people could get DMCA'd if they restream the Power Rangers marathon, but they're like, you'd probably be okay as long as you don't put the VODs up for it. There's no condition like that given for the Persona scenario. So you're like, well, how strict are they going to be? I've been trying to see if anybody had actually been in trouble with this. Obviously, I don't want to be spoiled because I do intend to play the game myself, but the lack of information about it is ridiculous, and just the way that it's being handled it's just disgusting.
But just the logic, Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, from like a legal perspective, especially from the content side, like Atlas is actually 100% well within their rights to kind of put any kind of restrictions they want. Now, it's of course stupid that they're enforcing it this way because it's free publicity. It's a good way to get the game out there. It's kind of what the current marketing norm is: influencer marketing, getting streamers out playing, getting people in. And for the people who can't necessarily, they want to see the game more before, this is the show. But Atlas, for some reason, Atlas Japan, kind of similar to Nintendo, it might be a cultural thing where they don't see it like that, and they're just like, we made this game, you're either going to play it on our terms, unspoiled, or that you're not going to get to experience it. But unfortunately, it's not really something that Twitch can really deal with, or YouTube. They're bound by law there. So I kind of don't agree with bashing on Twitch too much. Yeah, they might have been able to publicize it more.
I'm not bashing on Twitch for enforcing it.
It's how they handle it.
Cool.
A real statement would have been nice.
I'm not happy about how we used to get an email that outlined Twitch's specific stance on it. I understand now, somebody who's been in the business for 6 years, I understand that DMCA is above Twitch. Exactly, that's obvious, an obvious thing.
Yeah,
but that's not everybody involved in the game. And Twitch used to post stuff about what will happen here for this specific game, because think about how often this has happened outside of embargoes, which is a standard thing in the industry to begin with. Outside of that, how many games have had this treatment? I can think of one other time. I can't even remember the game. But I can think of one other time that I ever actually had to get directly messaged from Twitch for them to say, guys, you can't, there are serious guidelines for this, and we have to enforce them as a company, because this never friggin' happens.
So it also happens when you're not allowed to stream a game until a certain hour. And what they'll do is there'll be a pop down thing, like a global message saying, hey, just a reminder, you're not allowed to stream this game until 12 p.m. Eastern time, and then it's free reign. They probably should have done something like that as well for Persona, and made it a worldwide thing. Put it on your dashboard or whatever. They seem to be adding a bajillion other things on the dashboard. Having a good partner Twitch relationship on the dashboard, even if there was like a live chat available on the dashboard where you could just type in and kind of queue up to somebody at Twitch to answer questions, or where they could drop you a message and say, hey, you can't stream this game, or you can't do this. Same with the Power Rangers thing. They didn't really say a whole lot about it, but if you did go in the description of their channel, it did say that you could stream it as well, and I did, but I just deleted the VOD afterwards, and I never had an issue, right? So that wasn't too bad. I'll give you my opinion on this quickly. I think it's retarded. I think it's stupid. I don't think that any game should be saying that they don't want their game spoiled. I mean, the game was already released in Japan. There's already plenty of websites, spoilers. If people wanted to know,
full Let's Plays in English on YouTube.
They would just go and watch it. So that's just stupid. But what you guys said earlier, typically when that happens, it's usually the game is bad. But from what we're hearing, the game isn't shit. So it doesn't make sense unless they just didn't have confidence in their game that, or it's not like it got bad press in Japan. So it's not. No. It just doesn't make sense. It seems like they're kind of going the movie route in terms of you know, when it comes to somebody like Christopher Nolan and how secretive he is with his movies and how he tries to force the viewer to watch his film in his way. He wants to deliver the package in a way that he knows that you are going to watch it and consume it in a way that it was meant to be consumed. I think that is probably exactly. I think that's what they wanted as well. Maybe they felt as though the story wouldn't have been as impactful at certain points in the game if you had already watched another streamer stream part of that game or whatever. Even if the spoilers are out there, this is the only logic that I can think of, is if they really wanted the consumer to play it in a specific light, and then that way they feel as though their message will get out the best, and hence the consumer will give it a double thumbs up. Or if they had been spoiled on certain things or have seen certain things, that it wouldn't have that oomph when those big moments happen. But even still, I don't think that still warrants them wanting to go out and do this to the streamers, because streamers sell games. Yeah. It's just that simple. Usually, when a hot game comes out,
it's pretty tone deaf on Atlas's part.
Yeah, when a hot game comes out, a viewer will typically either watch the streamer that they love play the whole thing, or they will come in and they'll get a piece of it. They'll watch the beginning and make a judgment if they want to buy the game or not. And I think that sells games more than it doesn't sell games.
Yep,
yeah,
for sure.
Well, you kind of look at it, Atlas, and I was gonna say Atlas just pretty much came in like, enjoy Persona 5. Oh yeah, by the way, here's the guidelines. Like if you like the way it came out, I read about it on Twitter. It just kind of like came out as like an afterthought to everything. So they didn't really come out and publicize it up until they're just like, oh yeah, game's out by the way, don't do this. And they kind of like tried to like let it go under the radar that way. So I feel like that's kind of part of the reason why it's so chaotic.
Well, I mean, it's also just the guidelines are stupid in general. It's not just don't stream the game.
Specific.
It's you can stream it, but only in up to 90-minute parts, as long as they don't include major story points, and then you have to stop definitively at 7/7 in game. And you have to, you have to pray to the rain gods once every 5.5 minutes and face to the north and fucking whatever the hell, like crazy lengthy shit they had in there. It was like the Encyclopedia fucking Britannica. It was like with Square Enix, it was the stupid thing for them was we need to have Square Enix's logo on your screen in the build number for our game. Or for Nintendo, it was, we don't care what you do, we're just going to take your money on YouTube. And, that's shit, but at least we can still do content.
Rockstar did it too, right? Rockstar did it too.
Yeah, Rockstar did it too. Well, theirs was like a timed thing as well. Rockstar's was weird. They kind of backed down on a bit of their stuff. Yeah, so, but this is the thing that really irks me. They say that they don't want people to get spoiled. Well, here's the mind-blowing thing. If you took more than 3.5 seconds to think about the stupidity that just come out of your mouth, if you say, I don't want my game spoiled, so that's why we're not going to allow streaming, think about what somebody has to do in order to fucking get spoiled by a stream. What's the process? You need to sit down, you need to say, you know what? I want to watch a stream of Persona 5. Then they have to physically go to the website. Then they have to go to browse. Then they have to go to Persona 5. Then they have to, and all this while they could have cognitive dissonance going, no, maybe not, no. And then they get to the point where they choose somebody, and then they have to watch it long enough to get fucking spoiled, all of which is a consumer decision from beginning to end to get spoiled. You know where you get spoiled? On social media. That's where you get fucking spoiled. I got spoiled. I was fucking.
Twitter bots going out if you mention the game.
They've got bots made for this shit. I went to Atlas's Twitter, or I was linked to Atlas's Twitter for the article, right? Because as a streamer, I kind of needed to be informed about this, and Twitch wasn't doing it, so I had to go to the source. So I go there, and of course, you see the tweet, and because there's no click to show replies button, they're just there. The first fucking comment is the biggest spoiler in the fucking game.
Yeah.
Feels
and
bad,
I'm like,
right?
are you fucking kidding me? How much irony is involved in that there? We're going to put out a fucking thing about spoilers, and it's going to exponentially increase people spoiling it, not only because they were already doing it, but now they're going to feel justified. Now people are going to go, you know what? We have, now we have a reason. They're being idiots about this. Let's spoil it even more. And that's what's happening. It's crazy. So, like, to go from a system where a person has to physically go out of their way to go and spoil themselves to pissing off the entire fucking community and having everybody get spoiled in places that they have to already actively try to avoid to begin with is so dense. I don't understand how they get to that fucking point. It doesn't make any sense no matter how you attack it. Twitch is moving to a point now where you'll be able to buy the game through a link of somebody who's streaming the title if they're a partner. It's going to be right there. It's going to be click-through purchases. Like the amount of
already
like
out.
yeah. So people, I don't understand how they obviously, the only thing I can think of is that Japanese developers literally don't know anything about Twitch TV or YouTube. They have to be completely ignorant. They have to be living in the mindset of like the piracy argument, where the thing is, at the end of the day, the piracy argument is a hard thing to win because you have to be able to prove the person was ever going to purchase the thing in the first place. It's not just, oh, they downloaded the game and now we didn't get revenue. Well, if they didn't pirate it, were they ever planning to fucking buy the game in the first place? If they're pirating it, odds are they either didn't have the money to buy it and therefore weren't, or didn't think it was worth the money and weren't going to buy it. And that's for 90 probably plus % of the case. So it's the same idea. We're gonna screw everybody for this tiny fucking percentage, and lose. But in this case, the opposite, where piracy is not the case, we can make more money this way. So I just don't get it. It's fucking crazy. I hope they reverse it because it's stupid. They're gonna lose a lot of money, and they're gonna go from a company that's been lauded in the Japanese RPG community as being one of the really fucking god tier developers, and now they're just gonna get shit wrecked for the next.
They look like a joke.
How long? Yeah.
Yeah, they look like a complete joke because of it, and that's the other thing is there's no like, hey, for the first week or the first month, it's don't do this. And if you're thinking about maybe doing it at some point, you can also go fuck yourself because we won't give you anything that you could use to say, well, maybe if I just wait out the launch period or something like that. No, you're just going to wait for another obscure tweet that's going to come out with a bunch of spoilers attached to it that says, okay, now you can stream up to, the next third of the fucking game, like in a month. And everyone else just be like, holy shit. Like, it wouldn't even surprise me at this point.
Yeah, it's a mess. I think we can all agree it's a mess, and it's either they have the explanation that I had, where they just trying to get people to play it in a certain light, and that's the show, or they're just really, like Adam said, ignorant. They just don't understand the way things are. It's kind of hard to envision that that's the truth, like that they really don't know about streaming and they really don't know about YouTube. That would just be mind-blowing. And somebody would need to get a job there and make them a shit ton of money, because if one guy went in that actually knew shit about how Twitch is ran and live streaming and how popular all that stuff is, their revenue would just skyrocket. But now instead, there's some fuckery. And like Nate said, it would have been great if they came out and said, hey, the first 30 days, you can't stream it, guys. I'm sorry. After that, go have fun. Go nuts. Go play at this date. You can play it as much as you want. And that's the show, but that's not it. I think we all agree it's dumb. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't make sense.
You know what else a lot of people were scared of that might be stupid? Power Rangers movie. Jeff, how was the Power Rangers movie?
You know what? It wasn't bad at all. It was I didn't go in with huge expectations, right? We did have the whole Power Rangers thing on Twitch. And we were getting hyped up, and it was a big marketing tool, to get people excited for Power Rangers. And I was the demographic that was going to see and watch Power Rangers regardless. It didn't matter if it was on Twitch or whatever. It's my childhood. I was going to go and watch it. I went in with very little expectations. I went in thinking this is probably going to be bad. I'm going to get my heart broken in some way. And I can honestly say I didn't. I had people in my chat that said they absolutely loved it. I had people that said it was horrible. I went in open-minded and came out pleasantly surprised. It was like two movies. There was a teen angst movie, and then there was a Power Rangers movie. The Power Rangers part was the last act of the film. It was an origin story. I'm not going to spoil any details, but it was an origin story on how these Power Rangers became these Power Rangers. I thought the very beginning of the movie was well done, without going into that, and really, literally the first scene of the movie, I thought that was cool, and what they did there. And then it went into the whole high school thing, right? You get the kids and all this other stuff. And you know what? That's been done so many times, but they did it well. It was well acted. All of the actors were there. There was which Power Ranger was it there, Tabin? The lesbian chick. I think she was the Yellow Ranger or something.
Yeah,
Yellow Ranger. I didn't like her. She was the only one I didn't like. I didn't think she was a very good actress, and I think the director knew that too. She didn't have many lines. She didn't talk that much. She always just kind of gave like the Ronda Rousey stink face. You just can't really act all that well, but she was the weak link out of them. And but the Blue Ranger, the black guy, was like the star of the film.
Amazing.
He stole the whole movie. The main Ranger, he wasn't bad, but every time I saw him, I thought of a budget Zac Efron. Every time I saw him, I saw a shitty version. It was like, we could not afford to get Zac Efron, so we got this shitty version. Like, if you go and Google Power Rangers Red Ranger and you look at that guy's picture, he looks like a shitty version of Zac Efron.
To be fair, the original Red Ranger was also kind of a shitty Zac Efron, so maybe they were just going for that.
Maybe. It just would have been better if they had Zac Efron.
He was the beta Zac Efron. The beta Zac Efron.
The beta, yeah, exactly. But you know what, man? It wasn't terrible. The choreography, like the fight scenes, were well done. It was a little bit of a shaky cam and stuff during some of the.
A little bit too CG.
Yeah, some of the CG, when it was shit, it was bad. It was like Power Rangers bad. But when it was good, man, it was good. Like it wasn't bad. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I was on like you came in like on the spectrum of horrible to good. You came in on the middle of the spectrum, but on like the positive side.
Yeah.
I actually came in on. The movie wasn't bad. I enjoyed it, but I was actually a little disappointed. I enjoyed the movie again. For same
so what were
reasons
you expecting? What were you? What disappointed you?
It wasn't even like, it's just like it didn't quite make the mark for what I was expecting for a Power Rangers movie. Like, I was expecting it to be a little bit more campier, but they went serious when they should have went campy, and they kind of went campy when they should have went serious in some ways. It's kind of, again, not a bad movie. It was definitely worth my money to go watch. Yeah. But the way I found it was they kind of misjudged the audience, I feel, a bit. And the thing that got me the most was there's a scene in the movie where the music is notably different than the rest of the movie. And again, I'm not going to spoil it for those of you that watch it. You'll understand exactly. But I know exactly what
you're talking. I talked about that too.
And as soon as it came on, I was just like, you know what? If they had scored the rest of the movie in this style, the movie would have instantly gotten, half a star or a star more out of 10 from me.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the music scoring throughout the entire movie, like they went with like the whole mainstream Hollywood approach to scoring a movie, and the music wasn't bad. It just, I felt like it didn't fit the whole Power Rangers mentality of getting hyped up around the music. And then when they put the music in that you hear for that one part, you're just like, oh man, this is awesome. And then you're just like, oh.
Bryan Cranston as Zordon, though, pretty fucking awesome. Like, that guy was awesome, dude. The acting in the movie just really, if it was bad actors, this movie would have been fucking garbage. Oh, yeah. But these actors and actresses,
I was expecting
really
bad actors, and we didn't get that. We got good actors out of it.
Yeah. So overall, I was gonna give it. I give it a 7.5 out of 10 because it's a movie that it knows what it was, but it was at times conflicted on exactly like what Tabin said, where the jokes come in at some. I did laugh. Like, there was times where I laughed, and there was times where I was like, "Oh, really? You said that there, or you did that there." But it was a bit of both, and I did laugh. I did enjoy it. I went and saw it by myself because I'm cool like that, and I would suggest Nate and Adam to both watch it. You don't need to run out to the theater and see it. If your girlfriends are like, I really want to see Power Rangers, then fuck yeah, go see it. But if not, it's definitely can be a Netflix and chill night. It's a good time, and it gives me hope that this could be a good franchise. Like, I'm looking forward to the next one. What?
Whoa. 7?
Yeah, they have 7. They signed a deal for 7.
Okay. What?
Well.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So
They
That
went
went
ham with it.
0 to
No.
100 real fucking quick, didn't it?
wow.
Yeah.
Let's just
they-
not even see how this one pans out and sign her for 7. Let's go.
The first movie came out well. I mean, it came out well. Like from franchise perspective, they kind of set themselves up to do more. I feel like actually, Jeff, you can probably comment on this. How do you feel going from like the original G rating to up to that PG-13 rating? I feel like they did a pretty good job, like kind of bringing some of the more serious themes into the movie without being like over the top, beat you down with it.
Yeah, there was
which was nice for the adults.
You could tell that it wasn't targeted towards 10-year-olds. It was targeted towards like 13 and us, right? So we're going to get the nostalgia, you know, we're going to get all the little quippy things that they say and the little nuances that they do, and it's great in that way. But it wasn't dumbed down enough where you're like, oh my God, this is childish. There was some pretty heavy, you know, personal issues that some of these characters were going through, stuff that even I could relate to. But at the same time, it was still lighthearted and fun. And it didn't take itself too serious. It wasn't like a dark Power Rangers movie. It was still brightly lit. It was good, man. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I am kind of liking Power Rangers. And some people may hate me. I'm not like
from a 6.5 to a 7.
There you go. So yeah, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible.
So I mean, the only as somebody who hasn't seen it, the only question, you know, and you kind of answered this already, was, you know, I almost want, like you guys said that they didn't just go super camp. I kind of want it to be super camp.
No,
like
you say that, Adam. You say that, but I think if you got that, I don't think we want that. Like I don't want to go into the theater and spend my money on a YTV special of Power Rangers that is just so like we still got
like the old
goofy
movies.
Like there were still explosions in front of Power Rangers that like and they like, you know, fall back and they do their shit. But it's not that cheesy. And I know what you're saying in a nostalgic manner, but there's enough of that you get that fix. And if they went more to it, it would be a joke. It would just be like, what the fuck? And for an actual franchise now of 7 films, I think it would have just failed horribly if they would have went all the way over the top. The reviews would have been bad. People wouldn't have went.
Films anyway.
Well, the first, you know what? The first one was good. It's got good traction. I know, you know, they've already made money on the movie. I think if they get the right directors and they keep these actors and they start building into this role, and Bryan Cranston's there, I actually think
they set up a few avenues to do it well.
Yeah. 7's too much,
No,
but you know, if they said 3, I'd be like, okay, I'm down. You know, I don't want Transformers.
It's not that I don't feel like they have the capacity of making it passable. It's just 7 films. That's Harry Potter
This is Saban we're
territory?
talking about.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Do we get to see them when they're middle-aged Power Rangers?
Oh my God, that's gonna be so good. I mean, if they're high school
personal
now,
problem.
are they gonna play it off like these kids have been in high school for like friggin' a decade of their life and they're just failing over and over again?
Ninja
Like,
retirement.
yeah, exactly.
Are you going to check
Billy
it out, Nate?
busted
Are you
his
going to
kneecap.
go see it?
I want to. You know, Julie's gonna be gone for the weekend, so I'll probably try to see it this weekend. If I can.
Oh, sneak that bad boy.
She is not interested in it. She's European. They didn't do Power
She doesn't
Rangers as
understand
kids.
Power Rangers. Yeah.
Yep. She also hates weeb shit. She told
Aye,
me
aye,
I can't
aye,
play
aye,
Persona in the living room. You know.
Oh
That's
man.
Yeah, that's the concessions. Concessions you
You
gotta
can't
make. She
play it
said it's too.
online and you can't play it in the living room, dude. You're getting fucking.
Yeah.
oppressed.
I'd be like, well, I can't cook or
Wow.
clean, so, you know.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
yeah.
Our
true.
agreement is nothing anime-ish outside of my room. I don't really do anime, to be honest. I just really like Persona. But yeah.
Yeah, you and a lot of other people. But yeah, I
So,
think
no
I think,
weeb.
you know, I'm happy that Persona's not Persona. I'm happy that Power Rangers is a thing. I'm intrigued
Yeah.
that they're actually making a go at it. But I'll wait for the Netflix hype on that bad boy. All right, our last main topic of the evening, gentlemen, and this is actually kind of an exciting one because it's going to make. I think this is going to make E3 really fun. As far as the 3 press conferences go, is the Xbox Scorpio. That stuff got a seriously in-depth teardown at Digital Foundry. They were invited to the Redmond building, Microsoft, and They basically got the full deal. In fact, one of the bros at Xbox straight up built the fucking thing in front of them from ground up. They put the damn console together. So they saw this thing in super great detail, and we've got a lot of information about it. And from what I read, I don't know if you guys, any one of you three, read about the Scorpio this week, but
yeah,
it looks. It's you know, I think a lot of people would have loved to have seen them come out and say this is going to do 4K 60 on everything we throw at it. The odds of you getting that on a console for less than $1,500 is basically zero.
Nothing.
So, you know, going into this, my best case scenario was they'll hit 4K 60 native on in-house shit that they have, you know, all the resources at hand. They know how to, you know, yeah, they know how to irk every last bit of power out of this box. And then for everyone else, you know, the occasional title might hit 4K 60, but it's probably 4K 30 at best, but it will be native 4K 30. It won't be this upscaled 1440p PS4 Pro gig. It'll be native 4K 30, or greatly, you know, improved super sampled 1080p. And the specs that came out pretty much show that. You know, they have Forza running 4K 60 native with 4K assets.
Can TVs handle 4K 60? A lot of or HDMI even on that spec, a lot of them have trouble at 4K 60.
2.0
they have HDMI 2.0.
Yep.
But if you turn on HDR, it drops to 4K 30.
No, it'll still be 4K. It'll still be there. No. It's still like by the
at
time
least the LG.
By the
LG
time,
pushes
well,
down to 4K
yeah,
30.
I mean the problem with HDR and 4K 60 and everything is with HDR it obviously takes a shitload of bandwidth. But you know, by the time Scorpio comes around, it'll be future-proof to the point where you plug it into a TV that can do it. It's going to output 4K 60 HDR, right? I mean, you're going to be limited to your TV ultimately, and HDR is still and 4K content is still in a really shitty new age transition mode, especially the HDR stuff. So that's going to take some time to hit, but they'll hit an HDMI spec that does that for sure. But the thing that really impressed me, and I'll say this before I passed off to you guys for your thoughts, was that it's fully backwards compatible with the 360, the Xbox One, the entire catalog, fully backwards compatible, and it upscales internally, not putting it on the developers. So this isn't a PS4 Pro thing where the developers have to worry about it. The console itself at a system level will upscale everything to 4K. That's fucking crazy. That's big. I don't think people realize how insane that is for a piece of hardware to do that for a console, and to do it, you know, without the devs having to have their hands tied up in it, which is part of PS4 Pro's problem right now.
That's not as crazy as you make it sound from a hardware perspective. It's actually a little bit of an expensive piece of hardware to put in. But if you think about it, they're in a weird spot though. If you think about it, compared to PlayStation, for example, Sony's always been kind of the custom hardware guru, and they've been kind of moving more towards the middle where they want to do more generic hardware. And you can kind of see that out of the gate, PS4 just trounced Xbox One in terms of spec, and then the PS4 Pro, you can kind of see they realized we actually need a little bit more hardware. So they kind of went with an incremental update, but Xbox was like, we can't go incremental. We need to go big. And that's what we're seeing with Scorpio. But again, all of them went with the AMD style architecture, and that's kind of where they're getting their gains now. The backwards compatibility kind of comes in from AMD and using their tech again. You know, they're not changing the core counts, so all of that stays the same from a hardware perspective. They're pretty much saying we're just going to throw more GPU resources at it, more RAM, and more general bandwidth. So they're just speeding up things that give you more performance, and then it's not terribly difficult for them to just build in an upscaler piece of hardware else.
It's not that it's difficult.
It's still awesome though.
It's the fact that
awesome.
They're doing it. They're doing it.
They're doing it. It's not. I didn't say that it was gymnastics, and they didn't even need to, because I mean, what It's not the PS4 Pro doesn't do that, Panic. The PS4 Pro puts all that shit on the devs. So
But they
the
need
marketing,
to. Yeah, but
the
Microsoft
marketing
needs to catch up at this point.
That's not playing catch up. That's passing them, like dramatically passing them. Think about it as a
passing
developer.
them and specs, but in terms of mind share, they have to have something like this to be like, oh yeah, no, you can play all of your old games, because they lost a lot of people. Like, I sold all my Xbox stuff to get a PS4. You know, they lost a lot of mind share from the community.
But that wasn't backwards compatibility. That wasn't upscalability. That was just games, which is going to be their ultimate problem anyways. No matter how good the hardware is, they're going to need to have games. But I don't think there were people out there going, man, fuck, this Xbox One just doesn't have the backwards, the compatibility or the
hardware kind of sucked
graphic capability. Yeah, but for console people playing Xbox, nobody was sitting there going, oh, I need an extra 50p out of this, I want to go from 900 to 950 for Call of Duty. Nah. Like, nobody was fucking saying that shit.
Nah.
So what's
Guarantee
important
you people
here,
were at them. Guarantee you.
And I sound like I'm championing Xbox a lot here, but I am because as much as Xbox One got fucked up under Matrix friggin' retarded NFL TV box, the PS4
which
has
Nathanias
really good games. Yeah, yeah.
I know you like your football.
The friggin' NFL TV bullshit, that was brutal. But the PS4 Pro, I own a PS4 Pro, all right? This isn't the best piece of hardware in the world. This thing sounds like a jet engine taking off whenever you have to fucking do anything. The hard drives are still limited to stock, like, hard disk speeds. Like, so you put a solid state drive in there, it's basically no better than a regular disk drive, which is absolutely friggin' insane and defeats the entire purpose of being able to easily swap out hard drives to begin with. Sony, who is the developer and owner of Blu-ray, didn't even put a fucking 4K Blu-ray player in this thing, which blows my mind even further. And they put themselves in this weird, stupid situation where, from a marketing perspective, trying to get people to understand what value PS4 Pro brings to the table in terms of certain games will get patches to varying degrees from varying developers as to what will be done for 1080, what will be done for 4K, what will be done for HDR, to the point now where they need to have like 6 different badges for the back of the fucking box just to tell you, a rough estimation of what you might get for a game. Why I'm saying this is important or good, and not just, it's great that they're catching up to PlayStation, because catching up to PlayStation isn't hardware anymore. Hardware's easy. What's difficult is getting games that people want to buy your fucking console for, and that's what Xbox struggled with in this last round. What's good about it, though, is that for developers, it's easy. Way easier. It's not going to Sony and going, all right, guys, well, you need to make a game for us, but it has to be compatible with the original PS4. Now you can make it for the Xbox One, but you're going to plug that shit into an Xbox Scorpio as a consumer, and it's going to work, and it's going to upscale it, and you as a developer don't have to be directly hardcore involved with that thing. And I keep forgetting to update our patch notes because I'm a god. But regardless, that's why I'm saying it's important. It's not necessarily that it's hard to do. It's just that it's a very good move for them. And I think that the other nice thing to hear them say, and what we've seen, if you read that full article, Digital Foundry, is that, despite the fact that it was an in-house game that they were doing it with, which is always going to give them an advantage, with Forza, they didn't have to spend that much time to get it to where it was, to get 4K 60. They barely spent any time on it. They're ahead of schedule, to the point where they're going to be showing a lot more at E3. They had 20% overhead left on the GPU running Forza at 4K 60. What that tells me is that while the PS4 and Xbox One in that generation was all about how can we conform our games to this weird kind of sub-spec, it's going to go back to where consoles used to have some fucking headroom, where the longer the console life cycle was, the better the games could be, because there was room for shit to look better. And that's what's nice about this, to hear it, is that this sounds more like a pure gaming device, which we did not get the first time around at all.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I agree, man. I don't have anything else that I would have said other than looking at the specs gave me a lot of hope. The backwards compatibility thing is a huge deal as well.
Yeah.
And the
Going
fact
back
that,
to our Nintendo.
and I'm not the biggest. I still think that we're at least another year, maybe 2 away from decent 4K support across the board as far as like content and
It'll be a while.
even just engines and shit supporting it properly, even for like PC. Like if you even on PC, like doing 4K is
tough.
not like a small feat, and that people have really expensive rigs and it's still not like ideal. So I don't even think about that. I'm just like the specs. If that's where they're aiming, then when they fall short, at least everybody that's got their 1080p devices from the last 10 years, shit should be beautiful.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
Absolutely.
they also announced they've showed off the Scorpio VR. Did you guys see that as well?
I
I didn't
not.
catch that. No.
Oh yeah, the
I
VR.
think that's where the
it's-
headroom's gonna go.
Though the VR is unlike any other VR. It's taking it to another level where it actually maps out your room. So when you have they call it a mixed reality. And so what it does is you're playing the game, you're in a reality, but you can, when you have these goggles on, here I can post a link here in the Zen. When you have the goggles
like
on,
HoloLens or something else.
it takes a photo of your entire surroundings, and then the virtual reality is built within that, so that you're free to walk anywhere in your room or in your area. And if you have a table or a desk, that'll actually be a rock or a something within the game, so that not to kind of bump into it or things like that. So they're calling it a mixed reality. And apparently it's supposed to be huge, and people are already talking about it being compatible with porn and being able to be in a virtual
porn
room.
first.
Already.
And actually
Noise!
being able to walk around and all these other things. But it's like a mixed reality, and it's supposed to be like the next level of VR.
It sounds like HoloLens.
Yeah, I
it does.
don't know what it is. It also like puts like holographically like things
it
in
sounds
your
a lot
room.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
HoloLens
HoloLens is like. It's augmented reality kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're mixing some augmented reality with some VR. It sounds like a mishmash, which is pretty.
It sounds closer to
I guess that's
VR,
the,
but it's like a
Yeah.
step towards VR as opposed to HoloLens.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think-
That sounds
I think
cool.
this goes back.
I'm-
This overall, I think, comes back to our Nintendo discussion, where for Microsoft it comes down to games. Like they need their games at this point.
Yes, exactly.
They need to bring the show.
That's 100%. Like what? Like I think that obviously that was Xbox One's problem, right? There were lots of good games on the Xbox, but as far as exclusives went, they were dead. Literally nothing. And the further it's gone on, the more PS4 has been burying them mercilessly. Like they are more than 6 feet under. They're like 4,200 feet under. They're never coming out of that shit. So. That's why I think this E3 is going to be really crazy, is that you have to imagine for all the hardware stuff they're going to be talking about and showing off, they are going to have to show off a couple of serious killer apps that's going to sell this thing. Because you best believe that thing's going to cost $800 American coming out at the end of this year.
Yeah, unless they take massive hits thinking that they're going to sell games, but if that's the case, they're going to need games that are going to be
You
announce
need
the
even
games.
more good games if that's the case.
They need to announce them like all. They need to put all the cards on the table. Like, look, awesome
Yeah.
Halo. Awesome.
Well, they're gonna
I
have
don't
to
even know
pull-
what franchises Microsoft have right now.
They're going to have to pull a Marvel and say, hey, this is your Xbox Scorpio universe, and this is what you're going to get over the next fucking 6 years. And they just drop bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb, so that you're like, well, fuck, I got to get on board. I can't.
For
I got to get on.
franchise-wise, what do we have?
Yeah.
We've got Halo, Gears of War, Forza. I don't know what else Microsoft has that's like their own property at this point. Like everything else has kind of just gone to the wayside.
They really,
Or
I mean,
opened
they
up.
have Rare in their pocket, but they seem to
Rare
refuse
hasn't
to
done
want to
anything
use them.
useful. Yeah.
And I don't even think they've done anything useful. They just don't. I don't think they. I mean, maybe it's probably more complicated than I think it is. But
They're
they
a developer
haven't
of another
used-
era.
Yeah, well, that, and I don't think they've used them appropriately. And then they had Lionhead, and then they closed that bad boy down. So now we don't have Fable. So so Fable's gone. So yeah, it's I don't know what they do. I think the obvious play is they're going to invoke the name of Halo. They're going to invoke the name of I bet you the first game we see is Forza on that running at 4K 60 will be the opening thing at the press conference, and it's going to look like pure unadulterated sex, and then they're going to come out and they're going to talk about Halo, and they'll talk about maybe Gears or something like that. But I don't even think they'll talk about Gears. I think what they really need is to strongly consider having, kind of like we talked with Nintendo, with Nintendo, is going to some developer, I don't know who, and saying, guys, we need you to make something new, and we're going to pay you a shitload of money. We need a new IP. We need something that takes us, you know, we need a Halo Combat Evolved of the year 2017. We need something that's going to sell this ridiculously expensive
to Horizon
console
or something.
Yeah.
Like,
so
something beautiful, something new, something interesting.
That would be, I think, ideal. Nate, is there anything you can think of that you'd like to see? Like, is there something that you'd see that you would go, I would buy this day one?
I feel like they killed a bunch of their shit with how bad it got over the last few years. I'm like, when I think about like consoles, like games that bring me to a series, like Nintendo's the easiest one in the fucking world because they've got Mario and Zelda, right, and maybe Metroid's buried somewhere. But like Microsoft's like, well, they had a new studio for Gears. I thought it was a good game, but like that's not like the gross, massive, crazy appeal that something like Halo was. But when I think about Halo as someone who played Halo 2, 3 in like high school and shit, I'm like, it's just got a lot worse. I don't know. It's not an appealing thing that they can throw at you. And when I think about series for like Sony, I mean their new modern franchises at least like seem to be
Naughty Dog
quite a
is
bit
carrying
more
the fuck out
live.
of Sony right now.
Yeah, and Uncharted shit looks dope, and they keep putting it out.
Yeah, exactly. I think Microsoft's problem is they have perhaps been looking for somebody to come up with a new IP, but they haven't been able to get one that actually sticks. I mean, they had Quantum Break, and that fell on its face pretty hard. They tried to do the TV tie-in with that. That didn't quite get anywhere near where they were hoping it would. And then the latest one was Scalebound. Yeah, it was. And then Scalebound was the latest one from Platinum Games that they outright canceled because Platinum kept saying they needed another 6 months, basically over and over again, until Microsoft was like, "Look, we've already put like, it was like 30 or 40 million or some like crazy amount of money into it," and they were like, "Guys, we can't keep pumping this in, and we don't think it's going to sell enough to make this money back, so we've got to close this." So I think they've been trying to, play Go Fish with some developers to find it, but I don't know what they're going to do for Scorpio, but they definitely need something big because that console is going to be expensive, and they have the uphill battle of convincing people that this won't turn into another Xbox One where there are 0 exclusives that aren't just Halo and Forza. So that's definitely their challenge. Gentlemen, let's bring this home with a little tech support, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring it in. So Nate, I don't know if you know what tech support is, but it's basically a really memey name for we're going to answer some questions from the Patreon community. We pick a couple of questions each week from Patreons $10 and higher. They get to ask us some questions. They don't have to be serious. They can be silly. And then we answer a couple each week and give them our best on that. So I'm going to, as always, I didn't prep you, otherwise I'd get you to pick one, Nate, but I'll get Mr. Black and Mr. Switch to pick a question apiece, and we'll see how that goes.
I got one.
You got one?
That Nate could definitely answer as well. I'm trying to pick one that where Nate can chime in.
Okay,
right,
well,
we'll start this
right.
off with our guest because he is our guest. So let's go with what was the worst job you ever had?
Oh, well, yeah, tech support. Yeah, that was one of the two. That was one of the two
Are
things
you
I
talking
was
about
doing.
this job here, like our tech support, or a different type of tech support here?
Oh man, the best. That was like, dude, I have such a profound respect for anybody that has to do IT support for non-technically literate people. Like I worked like 8 months at the Penn State Willard help desk, and I wasn't even there a year, and it was like, you think about it, you're like, oh, I know computers, I'm really good with this shit, it's no problem. but it's such a soul crushing thing that you have to like at least working at a desk at a university, like people came in, so I didn't always have to do it over the phone with some old person, which was that was obviously the worst part, trying to explain shit over the phone. But the number of basic white bitches that I had to set up Wi-Fi on their MacBooks for because they couldn't follow the 5-step process listed on the door, on like the entrance to every single place that had a computer in the campus is insane. And my personal favorite was the Chinese student who came in and like couldn't really speak English. He's just pointing at his computer like there's a problem, and he opens it up and he's got some like spread of some hentai shit all over his desktop. He's got 100 icons. His computer is in Chinese, and and he's like, I need help, and there's like pop-ups and shit everywhere. I'm like, oh my
you need help,
God.
bro. Look what's on your desktop.
Yeah, so there were a few.
You couldn't change that
those.
before you came to me.
Yeah, and I didn't get to do it for 10 years and actually end up wanting to die, but I haven't worked a crazy number of jobs because I started streaming and all this shit right after school. So yeah, doing actual tech support, fuck that. No
wow,
thanks.
Nate. Thanks.
Yeah.
You are a trooper. It is not an insult to people that do
Geeks,
tech support. It is a compliment because I could not fucking stand to do that. I could not do it.
Oh yeah, Geek Squad, college tech desk professionally for 5 years. It's definitely a chore. Definitely a chore.
All right.
Now I know why you're so sadistic.
Did you just answer the question, or am I gonna? Okay, am I up next?
Oh no, I
Go ahead,
Adam.
Tabin, go ahead.
Right
Tabin, you are already in the middle of it, so just go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
My Geek Squad story. I got yelled at for about 15 minutes by a customer who came in with their computer cart, and they're saying, "I don't understand why you can't fix my computer." And she went on this rant, wouldn't even let me get a word in edgewise, and I finally got her to calm down. I said, "Ma'am, we're perfectly willing to fix your computer, but all you've brought me is the computer monitor. You have a monitor that shows it." And then she's just like, what? She's like, "This is the computer." I'm like, no. The computer is the box that this was plugged into. Where is that? She's like, "Oh, that's still at
Not
home."
like this.
I
can't
right
fix this.
there. I'd be done. Like that's it. I quit.
I got reamed.
I quit.
minutes.
I'm done, guys.
I'm done.
I'm going home.
I'm done.
GG. That's friggin'
yeah.
terrible.
Holy
I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Adam?
Yeah.
I've been pretty lucky in that. I mean, I didn't have a lot of jobs because most of the jobs I had were relatively long running up to the whole streaming gig and YouTube, and even the ones I had weren't even that bad, honestly. I mean, I guess the closest thing to a shitty job I had was the first one I had when I got out of university, and I worked for a diamond company, and they're a corporate head office for their online marketing coordinator. Basically, what happened there was the original girl got pregnant. She went on Met leave. And then they brought in another girl, and she got pregnant before the other girl got back, and so there was a double Met leave, so they needed somebody that was incapable of getting pregnant, and I was that guy. So they brought me in, and basically, exactly. They didn't have like some Arnold Schwarzenegger movie type shit going on. I basically the only reason that was really shit is that nobody in there that owned the company knew what the hell I did. They took me in. They gave me literally an almost impossible job to learn inside of 48 hours before the other girl left, and then they stuck me in a broom closet with my computer and said, "Have fun." And that was it. Nobody gave me really any guidance. I didn't have any training, and I had to do every single online order and website development. I had to finalize their newest website that was going live, plus build a new one on the side. Then I had to train a 60-year-old man at how to use the back end of that new website, which was basically like tech support. Like trying to teach somebody at that age on like a computer that was already barely capable of booting up, to then use the back end of this new website was a nightmare. But I mean, it was whatever. I got to the point where I got the job down to being done all my work in the first half of the day, and then I just watched streams for the rest of the day and got paid for it. But it was still kind of shit because you like to get some recognition. And I'd be in the broom closet, and the owner of the company would come in, and I'd been there for 5 months, and I had brought up their sales on their online and everything in this time that I'm there, and I've like overcame the stupid obstacles they put in front of me. And he looks at me and said, "So what do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me right now."
Well,
Yeah, I'm
that's
gonna
the thing
quit.
is tech
That
support.
sounds-
And
tech
his
support, that's your problem.
And the president at the time, literally would come in at like 11:30, and he was like, "Man, what a day! What a beautiful day! I just got in from racing my yacht." And then he'd like pick apart the work that our department was doing, and you're like, "You fuck off! You literally just walked in the door 4 hours after everybody else did because you were out racing your yacht, and then you come in, and the first thing you do is complain about shit you know nothing about." And so that was kind of the difficult part of that job. It wasn't necessarily that it was a shit job. It was just working for people sucks. I'm so happy I'm my own boss. I can't put up with that kind of shit. Drives you crazy.
It can be rough, and I guess I'll get into mine. I'm sort of the same way. I've had a lot of different jobs over the years, but I think probably the job that I hated the most. Well, there was 2 of them, but I guess I'll get into one because this one I didn't last long at all. I worked at a restaurant called Jack Astor's. And I could have,
I love Jack Astor's.
I could have talked about my bad experience at Old Navy because I did work there, but I think I'm going to go with Jack Astor's because it was just the people that I worked with, everything. It was just toxic as fuck. So it was one of those things where I came out of high school, and in high school, I was the type of guy that was popular, but I was not popular amongst the popular guys. I was popular amongst everybody else. Like, I was the cool guy and the non-cool guy. I was the tier 2, right? And when I went to Jack Astor's, it really felt like high school again. You had cliques. So, like, there was this big fucking douchebag, and dude, Top Sales Todd, he called himself.
Oh, I know this story.
His name was Todd. His name was Todd. He's a complete fucking dick, right? And if you're listening to this, Todd, eat a fat dick, bitch. Look at me now. All right? So this guy was an absolute prick. So what he would do is he was the guy that's been around since it was open, and he would get the best sections and obviously the most turnover, and he'd have the most sales. And obviously the more sales you have, the more tips you make, because the higher your bill, the potential to get more money. So Top Sales Todd. I like to sort of be the alpha a lot of the time, and he was obviously the alpha there, so we just didn't get along very well. And so I started mocking him, and I started calling him TST. And he'd be like, "What the fuck is TST?" I'd call, Top Sales Todd, right? I'd just kind of make fun of him. So this douchebag was the guy that would show up at work in his new truck that he probably paid like $60,000 for, and it was lifted up about fucking 4 feet with these big ass tires, and he was just a douchebag, right? He wasn't even like overly attractive. Like he was just a fucking cocky, arrogant douche that obviously I hate. And I just couldn't stand.
That just makes everything worse.
And he got a lift kit. Like, his dick was small. Like, he's like a fucking just a douche, man. Oh yeah, fuck him. He would always talk about like, the girls he would get in his fucking truck and his tips that he would get. And I remember his uncle came in because his family obviously has money, and his uncle came in, and it was the end of the night. And usually, once a certain hour hits at a restaurant, I'm sure a lot of servers out there can relate to this. Once a certain hour hits, you're expecting no more tables, and you just kind of clean up and you do your server duties, whatever that case that it may be, and then you cash out. Well, my time was up, and Todd was there. Granted, he was there since the beginning of the shift, but his uncle came in, and he came in to the store or the restaurant because Todd worked there, and he wanted a discount, and he wanted Todd to serve him. Well, Todd had better plans that night. Todd wanted to go out downtown and do his thing, and so he asked me if I would be willing to do it because I had a bad night, I had a bad shift, I had like $40 to my name, and this guy would usually tips reasonably well. So anyway, these guys came in, and it turns out that they didn't want meals. They just wanted appetizers and drinks. So Todd, before he left, I was already done and I'd cashed out. So he could have taken this table no problem because he thought they were going to stay forever. And I pissed off Todd so bad because his uncle had like a $400 bill and he tipped me $300. And Todd was it was the biggest tip I ever got at a restaurant ever.
Oh.
And I was like kind of salty because I was taking Todd's shit and he was like kind of brushing it in my face like, oh yeah, I'm getting out of here, like have fun, brah. And I had the shitty duties that I had to do and I had to close the restaurant essentially. And I got a $300 tip and top sales Todd. And I remember he was leaving. I said, well, it looks like I got the top sales tonight, Todd. And he was fucking salty. So and then not only that, our manager was this over-the-top, flamboyant, like drag queen, like fucking drama queen, you name it, all kinds of queens. And I got no problem with that. But the thing is when you get on the bad side of somebody that's like that, you're on the bad side for life. And he was like, he hired me and he really liked me and all that other stuff. And then I didn't come in for a shift that he called me up for because someone called in sick. And ever since then, the dude fucking hated me. He gave me the worst shifts ever. He was just a fucking drama queen, dude. He was just, so over the top. So yeah, I fucking hated that job. Jack Astor's, fuck off, dude. As you can see, I'm still salty about it. So
you're a little triggered there, Jeff. You're a
little bit. I'm hella triggered, and that's when I quit and went over to Eastside Mario's, or not Eastside's, Swiss Chalet, and then the rest was
ended
history.
up here.
That rotisserie.
So that was my worst job ever.
So what's our next question? Panic, you got it, and that's where we wrap it up. What do you got?
And before he does it, I want to give the shout out to the person who actually gave it. That was Alistair Manson. Thank you for the question, Alistair Manson.
There you go.
Yeah,
that was a good question.
Thank you, Alistair.
Base Gad.
Base Gad.
What do you got, Panic?
This one's topical. It goes with what we were talking about the other day. All right, this is from Duke. Chuck Norris versus John Wick. Who wins?
Oh
no!
Nate, you
I
said
don't know if this is like.
Dude, I love that John Wick shit so much. That movie, I loved both of those. I hadn't seen the first one, right? So I saw the first one like 3 days before I saw John Wick 2. So I'm still on that high. I'm still on that high of how much of a fucking badass he is. But the problem is, who wins in a fight?
Norris.
Which
yeah,
Chuck Norris,
that's. But see, that's the thing where I'm like,
Texas Ranger Chuck,
if John Chuck. If John Wick is like, he's better than the boogeyman, but Chuck Norris is God, you know what I mean? So,
I'm
just gonna go and say it, boys. Since nobody said it yet, Chuck Norris wins
Chuck Norris. Yeah,
I'm going John Wick.
That's it.
Yeah, it's true.
Chuck Norris has to win.
Yeah, Chuck Norris wins. It's a good fight, but Chuck Norris wins.
No matter how,
I think about Walker, Texas Ranger.
No matter how badass John Wick is, and let's be honest, John Wick is a fucking bad motherfucker. We're talking about a man who was possibly in the first 5 ever internet memes.
Yeah,
like that went global, and took over for a long time. That website, which I can't remember the name of it now, it was like the hype to put a joke in and hope that you get voted up into the top like 100. And then that dude came out with a book. I have the book at my house somewhere of the collection of the top like however many hundred Chuck Norris jokes that existed, and I have one of my jokes in that book, and it was one of my crowning internet achievements. But if you think about how crazy that is,
what was the joke?
I think it was something about Chuck Norris actually living in a roundhouse. It was a really terrible one. But I thought I had other ones that were much better, but they chose that one. So it was kind of crazy because when I think back to it, everybody was doing Chuck Norris jokes. I remember one of the first things Jeff came to me with, because Jeff always had a stupid idea for how to make money. Every week there was a new plan on how he was going to make millions. And at one point he came into my house and said, "Adam, we're making Chuck Norris t-shirts." And I said, okay.
Chuck tees.
And then we went online and found out that Chuck tees were already being done by about 1,000 other people, and we backed out of that deal.
Well, you know what?
Quick.
Yes and no, because then I took the tees. We went over to T Diz's house, and we had this we went to Staples and we bought a bunch of like printing paper that could go onto t-shirts. So we print off sayings. I actually have Chuck T. I wish I would have known this because I have Chuck T's upstairs in a fucking garbage bag in my closet.
Yeah.
And what we did is we had irons, and we would iron press down the sticker.
Yeah, they were just like the shitty little sticker thing, the vinyl.
So what we did, dude, is on a Sunday we went to the flea market with 40 of these Chuck T's. We put them out on a table and we tried to sell them. And after about 45 minutes of being at the flea market, because there'd be like 80-year-old men that would come up and be like, "Oh, what are these for, everybody?" And we'd be like, "Well, yeah, these are Chuck T's." They're like, "What are Chuck T's?" And we're like, "Well, it says this funny sayings on there." And then he would pick it up and he'd look at it and it'd be all kinds of wrinkled and fucked up, or this shit would be like sideways and stuff. It was horrible, and they just didn't understand it. So after 45 minutes, we scouted the place for Pokemon cards, and then we bounced.
Nice.
So
yeah, it's pretty good. But I think Chuck takes
wins.
that all day. Quick shout outs though to Conan O'Brien for having the Walker Texas Ranger lever on his show for like 2 straight seasons.
Yep.
And possibly one of the greatest things TV has ever had, ever. And if you don't know what that is, go look it up. It is, oh my god, it kills me. Slays me every time.
Go ahead.
I was just middle of a conversation, interviewing somebody, and for no reason, just he'd turn around and there'd be a lever behind his desk, and he pulls the lever, and all of a sudden it's like this 20-second clip of Walker Texas Ranger, completely out of context, no nothing, no anything.
I think at one point he actually had Chuck Norris there, and he would pull it, and Chuck Norris would come out, and they would do like some dumb shit.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Was pretty awesome. You know what else is pretty awesome? Nathanias. And we want to thank Nathanias for being on the Technical Alpha podcast, and to the wonderful 10 to 15,000 viewers that are listening to this. Go ahead and shamelessly plug yourself, Nate. Let people know where they can find you, all that stuff, and the floor is yours.
Try and match the LAGTV sellout. Give us your best go.
Wow. You can find all of my magical happenings and everything else great that I do from my Twitter at twitter.com/NathaniasTV. And you can also watch me play video games. I'm pretty good at Starcraft, but obviously I want to do other stuff too. So come check that out at twitch.tv/Nathanias. And that's all. Those two.
How do you spell that for those who are just listening? How do you spell that for those who...
Nathanias. And if you can't spell TV, maybe you shouldn't come.
Sweet, man. Well, we really appreciate you coming on the podcast
Great
today.
having you.
And it's an easy test for us for our first guest, and it's a natural one to have you on because you are part of the community that we came from, and now that we've made our transition into other things, it's good to have you on and talking about your transitions. And it just kind of all just worked out, and we'd love to have you again at some point too.
Yeah, for sure. It's awesome. I mean, I have like an actual good reason to make time to talk to you guys, which I already don't do enough anyway. So doing this, this is a nice Friday. This is a nice way to spend my Friday night, and I'm glad I came here to do this.
That's what my parents tell me.
Yeah, it's like, I don't get to see you enough, son. No, for sure. We'll definitely have Nate back again in the future. Whenever we want a dumpster blizzard, it's always a good time to have a third man.
Oh yeah,
we were light on Blizzard today. We didn't really do any bashing.
That's true. No, we were quite good. We were quite good to Blizzard for sure. So we are, we're going to wrap it up there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to read off our Patreon.
Upvote on iTunes. Upvote on iTunes. Go. Rate on iTunes. 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 Go on iTunes and post that shit. Go.
Rate it.
Patreon. Sell it. Patreon. iTunes.
That's like the most obvious subliminal messaging you could possibly ever have. Just basically just scream it over and over again. Go rate us on iTunes and give us money on Patreon. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we got to give a big shout out to our major Patreons here, our Patreon producers. We got Beastall Kid, Mr. Miyagi, Corey K, Toad of Steel, Naily, J.A., Matt D, Derek P, Jonathan A, Ryan M, Ice Wolfie, and Beastly Barlow. And if you want to end up on that list, well, you can go and toss her, us some money and get some swag in return. Oh, we will say that, I guess towards the end, and now we're all the way at the end, is that physical stuff is coming to fruition now. We have been sourcing things and prepping all of that stuff, and now that we've finally hit the first of the new month, we got money from you guys, so we know who actually needs to be sent these things. So give us some more time. I know it seems kind of nuts, but we couldn't really do anything for the first month because we didn't have any of the money. Yeah, so we will be getting that stuff out to you guys as soon as possible. It is on its way, and then we'll have all sorts of sexy macro pictures of all the stuff that we can
taken by me.
Get our hands on. Yes, exactly. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Technical Alpha. It's another week. We'll see you next Friday, same time, same place. And until then, peace!